Yeah, I actually started mine. I'm going to give people an opportunity to get here because I know that they probably did not expect me to go live. I didn't put out any announcement yesterday. I was
Yeah.
tired and I should have, but I forgot.
Well, I think that this is it since this is kind of our first. This is going to kind of be a kind of maybe like a test event to see how it goes.
Well, this isn't our first.
Um, well, I mean, it's our first coming back, and it's our first doing it like this. So, for people who are coming on to my page, we are actually going live. We are going to be discussing um, entitled parents versus entitled children.
Hey, hey.
And I know some of you,
Hello.
I know some of you can be thinking to yourself, like, what is an entitled parent? What does that look like? I didn't understand. Um, I didn't really understand an entitled parent. Like, what did that look like? So I was really, interested in hearing um, this topic. So, we're going to be discussing that because after I found out, like, oh, that's what entitled parent means, I actually had heard a couple people talk about this topic. So, I'm going to give you guys an example of an entitled parent. I heard this from someone who
Oh,
said
I literally
this
was just
wasn't
messing you, mister.
this actually wasn't from you, but okay, so I had someone tell me that their kids will be gone for a week, right? And then when they come home from being gone, their parents will have them wash the dishes. So those dishes, the kid wasn't home to accumulate those dishes, but they're expected to still wash those dishes because that's their chore. That is what they're supposed to do. Even though they weren't there, those are the parents' dishes and the other kids, the other child's dishes. But it's that kid's chore to do those dishes. And so I never really looked at that in a way of being entitled. To me, it's your chore. That's your chore. That's what you're supposed to do, is have chores. So I didn't really see that as being an entitled parent. And maybe that's because I'm a parent who had kids who had to do chores. But with Daquan, with you being my child, you had a different perspective on that. So how do you two feel like um, a child, a parent can be entitled when it comes to children 18 and under? Let's start because we're going to go two different sections. We're going to go kids who are, kids, parents whose kids are 18 and older, 18 and younger, and then 18 and older. Because I could kind of see the entitled parent coming more from the expectation of a parent with an adult child. So, how do you guys feel like a parent can be entitled when it comes to kids who are under 18? What does that look like?
Well, go ahead, Candace. Because I know that you had a lot that you wanted to uh say regarding the topic. So, I mean, I don't know if it's necessary to break up the age bracket of entitled parents as a kid
I think
versus
that
older. I think it's different, but I think it's
it's
all
very different.
encompassing. So I think we can talk about both without breaking them up, if that makes sense. Like,
You can, but you can't though, right? Maybe for you, maybe for the expectations that came from you, because when a kid is older, when a child is older, then the expectation is money. You know what I mean? Give me money. You're entitled to give me money because I'm your parent, or you're entitled to give me a car or buy me a house, or you know what I mean, take care of me because I'm your parent. But those expectations can't be set when you're a kid. I think the only real expectations from a parent when it comes to an entitled parent would be chores. But I could be wrong. You know what I mean? Because my parents didn't really have expectations of me because I didn't really live with my parents. So
Can
it's
we
hard for me to really speak on this.
can we I got my work. Can we take a step back?
Yes.
And like I don't know if do we need to do introductions or and I know you like set the scene on what we're talking about, but like did we need to do
Sure.
that or
I mean,
like what
listen, I
can
the
we are we
the only
starting?
reason why I didn't say nothing is because now I'm not blaming anybody, but mom, you just jumped in, like you just was like you started and it was going. So I was like, hey, if that's how we're gonna do it, that's
You
how we're
just
gonna
let
do
it
it. And
roll.
I was gonna let it
Yeah.
ride. I mean, it's
Nothing
not a
wrong
big
with that.
deal,
Yeah.
like, but for the sake of formality, it is probably a good idea that we all introduce each other to, the chat and things like that. I just
Maybe
introduce
it's
you to
just
my
me
chat,
because I'm
you know. But nah, that's a fair point because I hadn't even thought about it. I know that it's a normal thing, like in my head when I start a video or something like that. Like it's like, hey, we're talking about this, we're doing this. Mom did it earlier. Well, I think while your camera was off, and I think you were moving around still. So I think she introduced the
Well,
topic we were talking about.
I didn't necessarily do any introductions. I didn't.
No, you
I
just
guess
kind
the
of you started and told your chat what we were talking
hold the
about.
topic.
Yeah, so
yeah.
that's
Mhm.
why I was saying like while your camera was frozen, well not frozen but off, she introduced her topic.
Yeah, so I guess with
Yeah.
me, I know that people's attention span is like all of 5 seconds. So
Hmm.
I kind of wanted to put it out there what we were going to be
Yeah,
talking about because
yeah.
people
Yeah.
won't even give you time to do an introduction before they click on, and
Oh
click
yeah,
back
I
off.
mean that
So,
happens all the time. They'll click
so I
in
kind of
and be
wanted to
like,
put
"I'm
out
not.
there
There's
what we
not
were
enough
talking
stimulation. I'm out of here." Like,
about.
no dopamine has
There's
been
no
released in
guilty
the
fat
last
butt.
3 seconds. I need it. I'm out. I'm gone. I need my dopamine. Y'all got any of that
Yeah,
serotonin over
exactly.
there? I need a little bit of that, man. Yeah,
So I don't even know what this show is going to be called because you got Geezdayday, and then you have the Tasha Neal show, and then you have Candy on the Go Go.
Yeah.
So
Well,
Candy Rain
I
Productions.
guess so for formality's sake, I will introduce it as I'm Geezdayday. And on the top right of the screen, you will see my beautiful mama right there. She is hosting the Tasha Neal show. You're on Facebook right now, are you not?
Yes,
Okay, so
I'm on
she's
Facebook
streaming
Live.
right now on Facebook. So how can people find you on Facebook? Is it just the Tasha Neal show or
Tasha Neal.
okay, so you
Tasha
can
Neal.
find her Tasha Neal on Facebook. And she does a lot of live shows. I'm in a lot of the live shows, so we'll be talking about all types of interesting topics. I think we actually had a topic where we were supposed to discuss like porn, like how porn impacts like youth and men and women, and like it was an interesting topic that somebody brought up because we were going to be a mom and son talking about a conversation that most people would think is uncomfortable. So I actually look forward to doing that one because that's interesting. Uh, so on the top left of my screen, you see my cousin, my beautiful cousin. That is Candace. She go by Candy Rain. And how can people find you, Candace?
Rain Productions on Instagram or
Oh,
YouTube or Facebook.
Candy Rain Productions on all platforms.
Mhm.
Okay, so
Yep.
Candy Rain Productions, that's where you can find her. And do you got any more fire choreography that I can watch that we
Oh,
can see
it's
and enjoy? It's coming.
coming.
Okay, okay. I just saying like the only thing
Coming.
is like I be a little jealous because I don't get to do no dancing anymore where I'm at, and I just feel like you be
We're
leaving me
about to
out.
start dancing.
You don't even call me. You don't even shoot me a text.
Oh
You don't be
my
like, hey,
god.
I'm finna dance today. At least let me
Next
know.
time. 2023.
Hi, Ron. Thanks for joining us. Hi, Mark. No, I did not announce this previously. I'm sorry about that. We just kind of was like,
Hello, A.
let's
Hello,
do it.
Nessa. Thank y'all for being here. It says that. Oh, okay. It says that a couple people are here. If you are here and you want to talk a little bit more in the chat, this is one of the best times to do it. I can't necessarily always interact with chat the way that I want to because the Discord chat and the live stream chat is kind of fused. So I don't want to interrupt them while I'm talking. While talking to chat, it gets a little weird, gets a little fused. So if it feels like I'm not interacting with chat as much, it's because sometimes I need a pause to address sometimes what people are saying in chat. But there have been actually a couple things said in chat. A says that she knows entitled parents. Nessa said that she actually doesn't agree with you, Ma, on the point of the kid not being home for a week and having to come home and do the chores. So there's
Does she mean
already,
that she doesn't? What does she mean that she doesn't agree? Does she feel like the kid should not have to do those chores if they've been gone for a
I
week?
believe so. I believe so. Yeah, and so she's
Okay.
a mother of two. So that's
Mhm.
interesting as another mom it has a different opinion on that one. So I actually look forward to hearing a little bit more from Nessa. So
Mhm.
today, if you haven't seen it on the title, we're discussing entitled parents versus entitled children. That
Mm.
encompassed, I believe, um, pretty much the entire argument of what we were discussing today. That's what we came down to, was discussing the
So,
attitudes of parents and the attitudes of children and how they clash.
right. So I had Mr. Ron, he says anything done from a point of submission instead of teaching is entitled, right? So anything done from a point of submission instead of a teaching aspect, because he believes that chores are habit forming. Like you are supposed to do um, chores to teach habits. So it's not more so to say a parent is entitled, but you're trying to teach your kid things to form good habits, is what Ron said. So
So what? So what? Just a little background, and maybe it'll help us focus on like what we're talking about. So there's a couple stories that like happened recently that kind of made me think about this and made me like reach out to Geezdayday and Tasha. Sorry, funny people rule. um, the Ahmad Sotomayor, I don't know if I pronounced his name right or not, but he allegedly assaulted his daughter for being disrespectful to his mother. So um, um Amari Sotomayor's mother, called
and
out to the daughter
Tatiana,
and she
thanks for
responded
joining.
saying what? And so at that point, he allegedly assaulted her and then the police were called, etc. There's another story going on where Romeo and Master P are like going back and forth in the media. And Romeo is calling out Master P about, his facade. Like
Yeah,
he
I saw that.
yeah, he's there for the community, he's there for other people, and he presents himself as this, godly civil man, but in the background Romeo feels completely different. He knows a different Master P, one that has, not
Not
paid
been
him
there.
or not giving him credit, not giving him the financial, things that he's earned, et cetera, et cetera.
Hmm.
So those kind of jog my memory as far, made me think as far as, well, what is the balance between a parent's authority or possibly entitlement, as far as I am the parent, I am the parent, I gave you life, this is what I expect from you, versus
Mhm.
I am a child, I am a human being, I didn't ask to be here. So how do we find that balance between parents and maybe a parent going too far and being entitled and expecting things of their kids that may be unrealistic? And then maybe on the kid's side, is it that the kid is just entitled and they need to find ways to adapt to the learnings that the parents are trying to teach them? And so I
Okay.
don't want to really go into like the celebrity stories and talk about what they're doing, just focusing more about like those, like that question and
Yeah, the
those
dynamics.
So,
Yeah, I get
yeah.
that.
yeah. So Tatiana says that her little brother gets $20 a week for taking out the trash. It blows. She said the younger kids are the most entitled. So Daquan, we had a discussion about this the other day because Candace, I really couldn't, to be honest with you, I could not see where a parent is entitled, but Daquan broke it down from his childhood experience. So I think the only way to really understand and dissect it is to break down personal experiences,
Yeah.
which Daquan, because I had specific chores that was like you Monday and Wednesday you do the dishes, Thursday and Saturday you do the living room floor, you do the clothes, and Daquan felt like um well, Daquan, I'm not going to speak on your behalf. You tell where you found it to be certain things to cross over boundaries of what should be normal and then what was an overreach and an entitlement of from a parent. Which
Okay,
one of those is where I said the child is gone all week and then has to come home and wash everybody's dish because that's their chore.
right. And so there was a thing, right? Me and mom did have a long conversation about this because I think it's good when sometimes me and mom do talk about the topics that we're going to do a show about, because I think it helps us narrow down the direction that we want to go with a lot of what we're saying. Because if we spend an hour on the phone actually like going over the subject matter, we can be like, okay, this is what we're gonna, this is how we feel and how we want to go. So on top of like even Tatiana's point about how Carlos gets $20 a week for taking out the trash, you know, I dealt with similar things like that with Dalen, where it's like how we grew up, you know, we had to, if we asked for something, it wasn't necessarily like we were going to get it. You probably had to do extra chores. You probably had to cut the grass. You probably had to uh, just go above and beyond in order to get the things that you wanted. Whereas Dalen, half the time he didn't even have to ask. You know, like he would just get it. So it fostered entitlement. It created a sense of entitlement because it was the expectation, like this is what I'm used to getting. When I'm out of batteries, dad just brings home batteries. Like how am I gonna play my game without them? You know, so
That's an entitled kid.
it's that's an entitled kid, but the entitlement was created by the fact that he didn't have to do anything to get what he was already going to get. You know, he was going to get it
Mhm.
regardless. He smashed his TV in. Guess what? He got another one. You know, so it's things like that where it was, and like I said, I wasn't mad. I was just confused because I was just like, how is it that this separation? Because I'm 10 years older than my little brother. So what changed between this separation of me and him to where he got treated so differently than we did? And I didn't look at it and get bitter because I didn't feel like it was, oh, they love him more than they loved me or my brothers and sisters or anything like that. Because my love couldn't be bought, my love couldn't be purchased. You couldn't give me gifts to make me love you. So it was a thing to where it was like, I wonder if they're just tired. I wondered if my parents were just tired from
Okay,
dealing with
so I can
us.
answer that. I can answer that question. First of all, yes, we do get tired, and then there is actually a different level. First of all, there's a different level of
Hi, Sarah.
maturity with growth, and learning new things, and being someone different. And I had you guys at my teens and 20s.
Mhm.
So parenting Dalen, I was in my 40s. You know what I mean? So I'm a totally different person. So
Mhm.
yes, you will hear kids from every walk of life. It's kind of like a rolling joke where the youngest child is the golden child. They get everything, they get away with everything, and then the
Right.
older kids is like, "Oh, you're gonna get punched in the throat."
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And then nothing happens to that kid. It's like, "Mama, you didn't punch him in his throat." Because it's just a different level. Like it's just like, I don't raise three of y'all. You know what I mean? That's always kind of this thing with the last kids. But um, Ron, he said that children are our responsibility as parents. He said, feed you, clothe you, teach you. And then I said, well, what is it the responsibility of the children? And he says that he goes to work to create a product that people he's got a quota that he has to meet. He says it's same as a child. Your job is here. This is what your job is, whatever the parent creates, and then there's an allowance for doing those chores. Now, see, I disagree with Ron. I don't feel like I got to pay you nothing. This is your job. So I guess that's where we say the entitlement comes in, because to
Mhm.
me, this is your job. This is what you're going to do.
Mhm.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah.
That's just what it
Go
is.
ahead, Candace, because you
You
haven't
know,
got to say much. Yeah.
So, and I was thinking about this because I've definitely like my son in chores. It's like not a question, but I was thinking about it from this way. Okay, your parents decided to lay down and make a decision that produced you,
Okay. You guys can
and
still hear
you
me.
are
Okay.
here,
I got my mic muted on there
and
on their
now you
side,
have a
so I
job,
can talk to you guys
and now you have
a little bit.
responsibilities, and now there's consequences if you don't meet those responsibilities. How is that how is that on the child?
So you just let the child do nothing?
No, that's not what I said. But what I'm saying is
Listen, Candace, I don't want to
when it
interrupt you, but something just happened that's very interesting. Why is it that when you, Candace, brought up that point that the responsibility fell on the parents, your response was, so we just let the child do nothing. Why is it that it has to be in between those extremes? Why is it that the child either has to have these certain amount of responsibilities and chores or they just do nothing? Why can't there be a medium in there? Why can't there be, and I feel like that medium is that allowance, right? Why can't that allowance be that medium where they do have those responsibilities, but the parents have those responsibilities, and that medium is where, hey, the reward of you doing these extra chores is this extra incentive to do these chores, not the responsibilities of me feeding you and clothing you. The feeding and clothing shouldn't be the reward of you doing your chores because that is your obligation as a parent. So I'm sorry, Candace, I didn't want to interrupt you, but that
no,
back and forth did fascinate me because it went back and forth between two polar opposites. But go ahead and
yeah,
continue your point. I'm sorry.
No,
no,
well,
no.
Daquan, yesterday he actually said, and I told this is what I said, Candace, because Ron, he's chiming in. He said there's consequences, good and bad. He said no chores, no extra money. Where is the first money coming from? Because
That's
if
what I
you
was
ain't
about to
doing
say.
no
I
chores,
didn't
we're
hear
not
you.
giving you no money, period.
Yeah, we didn't say nothing about
But
no
I'm just,
extra money. Hey, you
I'm
want
just
your
not giving you.
$50? You better your $10 that you normally get. Like, nah, we ain't
I
saying
think he
nothing
means.
about
I
that.
think what Ron means is no extra money as far as outside of the basics, like
Right.
what you guys were saying. I'm gonna feed you, clothe you, and
Oh, okay. Yeah.
get you your basic supplies. So
Mm.
if you want anything extra over that, if you don't do any chores,
Hello,
you're not
Image.
going to get
Hello.
anything extra.
I'm muting my
My
mic
thing
so I
is,
can go back and forth
if
and talk
you,
to you guys.
No.
Hello,
like
Sarah
Daquan
again.
said, there's got to be basic chores that you do. With me, Candace,
Oh, you
they
had
had
chilled
their
all day,
basic
didn't
chores,
work,
and you go
hadn't grown up
this.
on the extreme
That's
opposite. I
where
might
I
have
was
different
stepping and
opinion.
say that I was
Dad make us
entitled
clean and
because
tell him,
this
Mom,
is
you do
what you're
this, so we
going to
all got
do,
chore
and
and
I
maybe
don't
be like,
really.
oh,
That's what it is.
absolutely.
So
I
I
see
will
that.
live and die on that. Now, if
Get
there was
beat for even
something
asking
that
for food.
was
Same,
extra,
Nessa. Same.
I used to have Destiny clean my
That's one of the
room,
reasons why I'm
and I used
I'm
to
looking
have her
for
do my
alternatives
clothes.
to
But
physical
that's
punishment.
extra. That's going a step
Adult
above
parents
because
with kids
that's
under
my
18
room.
works
She's
different
not
for everyone. The
responsible to
oldest
clean
is
my
3
room.
alive.
Yeah.
So I
A
gave her
living
money
babysitter,
to
third
do
parent.
things like
Right.
that were extra.
Hello,
So
Image.
if
I
there
don't
were
know if I said
extra
hi, but
chores,
hello.
but Daquan made a good point because he was like, if we're washing
Just like how I
everybody's
act with
dishes in
myself.
the house,
Wisdom was a
shouldn't that
parent
be
because even
seen
though my
as
mom
an
had the money, the
extra
older sister
chore because they're
protected him.
not all my
Absolutely.
dishes?
Sounds
Hmm.
like
So,
my sister.
but I'm like, if there's 3 kids in the
Well,
house,
hello,
you
everybody.
know
I
what I
hope you guys are
mean?
doing well.
Who's supposed to wash the dishes? Me? You know what I mean? Like, I'm supposed to, who, dad? Supposed to wash the dishes? And then Daquan, what did you say? You and Destiny and Devin did.
Oh, so I when mom said that it didn't trigger me or anything, but I felt like I was allowed to finally say something that I didn't get to say as a kid. Because me, Devin, and Destiny, we sat down because this was mom and dad's idea. This was their idea. They said, y'all don't like doing dishes? Well, y'all clean up after yourselves. Y'all don't like cleaning up every day and doing your chores? Well, clean up after yourselves. And we said, you know what? Devin, Destiny, me, let's clean up after ourselves. I'm sick of this. I'm sick of chores. I be tired when I come home from school. How about let's clean up before we go to school, and then we all good when we get home and we chilling, you know? So we started doing it. We started doing the dishes every time there was a dish in the sink. Me, Devin, or Destiny would be like, Devin, did you just throw that in the sink and then wash it? He'd be like, oh yeah, my bad. Boom, hit that. So we was doing good for about a week, but maybe two. But what started happening is dishes started still piling up in the sink. And me, Devin, and Destiny fussing. Like, what's happening? What I thought y'all we are doing our dishes. But mom and dad wasn't doing their dishes. And so what happened was the sink started to still fill up with dishes. Not our dishes, but their dishes. And so it became this thing of, well, I'm not gonna do their dishes. Well, I'm not gonna do their dishes. And so we all started fussing, like, so what's happening? And then it became a frustration with mom and dad because we were like, well, how y'all gonna give us an idea that we can't even follow? You know what I mean? Because then at the end of the day, we still gotta
Oh my
wash.
God.
We still gotta wash some. We still gotta wash dishes. You know, so it don't matter if we washing our own dishes. We living by your advice, but it didn't do nothing. You know, so
Hold
what
on, hold on,
matters
hold
if
on.
we vacuum the floor if y'all come in and y'all bring in hay from the dog cage and we ain't do it. You know what I mean? So
Listen,
now we gotta clean up after y'all. If that now the listen, if that was the case, if we had already known, like, hey, listen, we not finna do the dishes, in which we was like, hey, we get that. But if you didn't want us to like follow that advice, then giving us that advice that we technically cannot follow, it confused us and it frustrated us because we were like, how do you want us to clean up after ourselves if we still are expected to clean up after y'all? And so that was that dynamic that we had going back and forth. And me and mom had a conversation about it because mom was like, we not going to do the dishes. And I was like, listen, I hear you, but I'm only expressing how we felt as kids.
okay, so here's let me double back to that. First of all, you say that y'all did that for a little bit.
Hmm.
One, that was not going to continue. It just was absolutely not.
Says who?
Because if that was it wasn't gonna Daquan, come on, for real.
Really?
Come on.
We
You
were doing
already said
good.
you and Devin shared a bedroom. You said Devin was
Devin
messy.
was
Was he gonna
dirty.
bully
Devin
you for
was
that?
dirty.
Okay.
He
Hold on,
was.
these viewers are going crazy. Okay, so he said, Ron says most chores are created by kids anyway. You know what I mean? Like y'all the ones who's playing and running through the house, and y'all's the clothes need to be washed.
This is
I
You know
true.
what I mean? So
disagree.
like
I won't,
y'all the ones
I
who's
will not
creating most of the
argue
mess.
that. I won't argue that. I know and I listen, I only say that because I shared a room with Devin. I knew how dirty we could get. I knew it. We could get dirty.
Tatiana said, Tatiana said the reward for doing the dishes is you get to eat. Nickel.
I disagree.
See, but that's the thing though. Listen, my point, my counterpoint to
That's the
Tatiana,
entitled
my
parent
counter,
that
my
we're talking
counterpoint to
about.
Tatiana is, does it mean that I don't get to eat if I don't do the dishes? Me getting to eat is an obligation of my parent. I didn't ask to
Hold
be created. I didn't
on,
ask to be put here.
hold on.
If
Y'all
my
can't no,
parents want me to
but
thrive,
Quan, no,
if my parents
no,
want me to
Daquan,
thrive, why is it not an
no,
obligation of
you
my parents to feed me?
but wait a minute, because like Ron said earlier, it's teaching you skills to live. You're
There's
going
a
to have to
difference
go out and you're
between
going to have to
teaching.
do these things
There's a
on your own eventually anyway. So you're going to learn at home. Our parents' job is to teach you how to clean, how to cook, how to wash your clothes. You're going to have to learn to do this anyway. It's the parents' job to teach you. So these are things,
teaching.
and now
Teaching
that you
doesn't
said that
imply.
Jalen, you
Teaching does not imply entitlement. Teaching doesn't mean that if you don't do this, like the whole reward between you do chores and I put a roof over your head. There's a there's a different way to teach responsibility of you need to clean up after yourself. That doesn't mean that you cleaning means that you eat. You know what I'm saying?
I
Like
agree.
drawing that parallel is getting a little murky. Like
I agree.
it's a little gray because back to what Daquan said, I didn't ask to be here. And I'm not saying I trust me, I have said these words before. Like I've thought about this. Like I've been on the other side.
Hmm.
But now I'm thinking, I'm like, my child did not ask to be here. Like, why am I ramming chores down his throat? Yes, we do need to learn how to take care of ourselves, but that does not mean that it needs to hang over a child's head. Like, I have to clean this house in order to show my value as a child. I need to do these chores because you're taking care of me. Now, there is another conversation as far as reciprocity
Hmm.
and contributing to your household. And as a family, this is what you do to help this household and this family run and thrive. But then it becomes very gray when it becomes like threat, maybe a
dogmatic,
strong word, but when it's like, you know what I'm,
entitled,
Hmm.
yes, when it's
dogmatic.
entitled, like, oh, you need, when it comes to the conversation of you need to do this because I put a roof over your head, like,
I
really?
think that I think what's going
And
on.
I've said that before, so
I
like,
think
I'm
what I hear
not judging.
from what I hear is that it's the dogmatic way in which it's done. Is what I hear
Absolutely.
because both of you guys are saying that should be done. It's
Hmm.
just the way it should be done, the
Yes,
form and the
we've
way
talked
that it
about that,
should
Ma.
be done.
We talk about that all the time, don't we? We talk about that it's not necessarily the message, but it's how it's delivered. You know that that
Yeah,
that applies in so many factors. So You want to teach a lesson, there's multiple ways that you can teach a lesson, just like there's multiple ways to get to the solution of a problem. You don't
At the
have to
same
go
time,
through this
we're
one
not saying
avenue.
we're not saying that a parent is entitled because they have expectation that their kids do chores. We're saying it's the way in which that parent feels like they should do those chores. Like for instance,
Sure.
Candace had gave a really good example when you said that someone. Can you say that thing that you told me and Daquan where you said do the chores and then the person responded? What did they respond back with?
Oh, that's what the kids are for.
Yes, yes. Yeah, I remember. We saw
Yeah,
that in the
that's
chat
what
and I
kids are
was
for.
that bugged me as well. And me and mom had a conversation
Yeah.
about that a little bit where I was like that actually did trigger me a little bit because it was like, what do you mean that's what kids are for? Like, and I was like, we aren't your maids. Kids aren't maids. We aren't butlers. Like it, and that's how it made me feel hearing that parents say that, whereas mom interpreted it a little differently. Um it was interesting to see how I interpreted it versus how mom interpreted it. So, Ma, how did you interpret the parents saying that's what the kids were for?
I said that is what the kids are for.
Right. But when I told her like it wasn't like she didn't think it meant like the kids are maids and butlers. You know what I mean? Like even though that's how so mom didn't interpret it as derogatorily as I did, you know. So it was a
Well, that I
thing.
think that kind of goes to where when men say that women should submit to a man.
Well,
You know
that's
what I
just a
mean?
trigger for you.
Well, it's a trigger for me, and I think you guys are
she
triggered
no she
too.
mentioned it because it was like no like it's factual because that triggered us the way that if you hear the word
Right.
submit, like the word submit literally is a trigger word for mine. It don't matter if she watching MMA and he like, oh, the submission, Anderson Silva win by submission. What you mean he submitted him? Because he wouldn't do it to me. Like, Anderson Silva can't submit me.
Oh my gosh.
I'm
Oh
literally
my
trying to fight
she
everybody who used that word submission.
she
I'm
gets
like, let's
so
go.
mad. It's so funny.
It's me.
It's so funny to watch her get so heated at the.
I ain't know we look like maids. What we look
She
like?
be like, I don't look like Harriet Tubman. I ain't no slave. I ain't no. Like no. Like her. She gets so mad at the word. Just the word. I just be sitting there watching, like, cause I agree with her, but I can see her getting a little mad at me, like as a man, like, and you better not be asking no girl to submit to you. You're like, I ain't even do that. I'm a feminist. I agree with you. Women equal pay. Let's go. Like,
I hate that word so much.
Oh
And I
my
think
gosh.
that Tatiana said, if you don't wash the dishes, it's noodles, noodles, pizza rolls, and sandwiches. Look, Daquan, I told her that's what my kids ate anyway.
I was just about to say that. I was just about to say. I was just about to say. I'm like, what do you mean? That sounds like a normal Tuesday night. That's a that's a that's an average Tuesday night for us in the Neil house. That was regardless of if we did the dishes or not, was what we was going to eat.
Yes.
You want chicken or beef flavor? Cause that's you okay. Like it was it didn't change. When we started getting hot pockets, we made it. You know how we was living right. we got we was like, what you mean we upgraded from pizza rolls to hot pockets? Let's go. We made $1 million.
And Tuna knew to help her. Tuna
Man,
knew to help her, boy.
I listen. I don't know. That's just that's funny because I'm like, nah, that's just how we grew up.
Listen, Ron said tell me if this is not what mamas used to say. He said, my mom used to call us on her way home and ask, is my house clean? My house better stay clean.
Listen. Listen. I was oh my god. Listen,
My house
Candace,
clean.
tell us a little bit about my lovely auntie and how it was
Oh.
with her. Cause
so
I love Aunt Deb, but man,
so so I grew up in a home where chores were a way of life. It was like no exceptions, which is part of like my my challenge with parenting my child because he doesn't have the same like as I did. Like growing up, it was like chores weren't an option. Like you did it. There that was it. Um, but there was always something to do. And if you finished your chores, there was always something else to do. My mom
hmm
could not stay still. So like when we started talking about like the chores and what you're supposed to do, I always thought of it as yes, this is my job. This is what I'm supposed to do. This is how I take care of the house. This is what I'm here for. Whatever, whatever. Um, but it was like now looking back on it, it's I'm starting to realize how it could um manifest some unhealthy habits in a person or some challenges because it's like you can develop, and I'm not like a disorder or anything, but you can begin to think that you always have to be doing something. I
absolutely.
mean, some people can like actually can get OCD or become very anal or always have to be focused on having a clean environment or maybe become like overproductive and always worried about what do I need to do? What needs to be done?
I'm
Something's
gonna
not right.
put
And
this
so
together. Oh,
personally, that's
I
like
see
the
Nessa.
spectrum that I'm on. And so as I'm trying to
Oh man,
like
you guys have been
undo
active
that,
in the
I'm just
chat.
like,
I'm sorry.
when you're a child, yours like
This
you
is just
should
raising my voice.
not saying that if you have
Jefferson needs
chores
to
you're
get
not
in trouble.
happy, but what I'm saying
Yeah.
is like and
That
it
see
all
that
comes
works for
back
me
to
too,
the like
Nessa. You didn't
they
really have
really
to
didn't
do
ask
much,
to
but
be
let me know
here.
you were
And so
disappointed
like
in
if
me,
if you as an
and
adult made an
that
adult
would be
decision,
enough
and I know there's like a whole
to
bunch of
get me
different
to act right. Because I
scenarios
hated
there,
the idea of
but
making
like
people sad.
I don't know, like give the kids a break. I mean, and that's so weird coming from me because I'm like so
Emotional treatment of males
hard
in my
on
family
chores,
carried it on.
but like
Absolutely.
I
See,
feel
that
like
happened with my
Candace, this is
cousins.
what I
That
feel
happened
like
with my
because you
cousin
and I
Candace's
also
family. The
had a
boys were
discussion about
treated
it.
differently
And
than the
Daquan
girls.
had a long discussion about it. Me and Candace had a long discussion about it because me and Candace actually came to the realization that
Because I was the most
we both
responsible.
have
Yep,
this
my sister was the most responsible.
this
Therefore,
and Daquan
the
actually
most
has a
was put
disorder
on
from
her.
it too. Like Daquan hates to be told what to do. Like that's his fighting words. Like if a
Yep.
girlfriend or a friend or somebody tells him what to do,
Yep.
he ready to scrap. You know what I mean? Like, hey,
It does the same thing that submit does for my. I it is a trigger. I don't like the idea. Just like and it's the same concept. I don't belong to you. I'm my own person. So at the end of the day, I get to choose what I do with myself. You don't get to tell me what to do. And
mm,
even if it's a
in that
thing
case,
that I want to do, if you tell me to do it for you, I no longer want to do it for you. You know. So it's how the dynamic
that
is.
came from childhood.
hmm
It came from childhood, right? So hopefully, as we're talking about this, it helps us to parent better and to understand better is really what we're going with these topics,
hmm
right? Because
hmm
I learned a lot from talking to Candace and talking to Daquan about this. Because, like he said, he was able to tell me some things about me as a parent that I really did not, because we're taught from generation to generation to generation of who and how to be.
hmm
And so, in generations before us was very dogmatic. It was a matter of fact, this is what you're going to do. And I still am very dogmatic and probably will probably stay that way. But me and Candace had said that we get on ourselves so bad and we will mentally be depressed and go into a depression if we don't feel like we're busy doing something all the damn time.
Yeah.
Like we feel like, and then we do a million things, but feel like it's not enough.
Yep.
You know what I mean? Like you always feel like, oh man, I did these 20 things. It should have did 21. You know what I mean? Like that comes from that, like you were saying in your childhood, Candace, where it was like Daquan had described being at you guys' house, and it was like, um, oh, you vacuumed the porch? Okay, well go brush the brooms. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like
always something to
that
do.
always, if you're not busy, you're not productive. there's
They,
always something to do. Go vacuum the garage. You know what I
yeah,
mean? Go change
and
the
at
light
some
bulbs that
point,
need to be changed.
yeah, and at some
You know,
sorry, go ahead. I keep trying
you
to
go ahead, please.
um what else did we say? We said like continue to parent yourself, right? Like so after you're raised, what however you were raised, you continue to do that to yourself. So
Mhm.
if you were raised in like a critical environment, you continue to be critical
Of
to
yourself, yeah.
yourself as
Mhm.
you get older, right?
Yeah.
And so if you were raised in an environment where there is criticism and your value is attached to your productivity and you always have to stay busy. Hello, you have Candace.
Yeah.
but that but that like creates what Tasha said, like so you continue to live that way because then you're always like busy on the move, nothing's ever good enough, etc. But
Yeah.
so tying it back to like the parents entitlement versus the child's entitlement, like I think we all understand like they both have roles and responsibilities, and we all like we want to teach them things. But I think like something else, Tasha, we said is that we can learn from the kid, like the parent can learn from the child and the child can learn from the kid.
Yeah.
So if the parent is saying, hey, you need to do these chores, but the kid is like, oh, I'm tired, or this, then maybe there's something that the kid is telling us that maybe we can like tweak and to kind of make that relationship a little better.
Daquan had brought up a good example too. He said kids go to school, they work the same hours. So they go to school the same amount of days. And then he said a lot of times they would have football practice or basketball practice or track after that. Excuse me. So when they come home, they're just as tired as the parent, right? And he said, but they're expected to still do their homework, still keep the good grades, and then still do their chores. And he was like, so where? And I asked him, I said, well, are the parents supposed to buy the food? Pay all of the bills, pay the mortgage, have the house, the transportation, and then do the chores. And so he and I was having this long back and forth, and it was very enlightening because he said, and I asked him, I just said, look, are your kids going to have chores? And he said, absolutely. He said they're going to have their basic chores, and then there's going to be chores that come with an allowance. And um, I think that I don't know as a parent, it's really hard for me. But Ron said, so Candace, I want to um, Ron, I'm
Okay,
gonna go
I'll
with Ron
I'll
and
I'll look
Tatiana.
at
I'm
chat
gonna
again.
tell both of them what you were saying, but I
I
believe
saw that you
that
said, Nessa, that you might
what
have
you
to
two are
dial this one
saying,
out because it might be a little triggering.
well, Candace, you're
I
like the
totally
child didn't
understand
ask
though.
to be
This is
born, this
this
and that,
is
and the
a
other thing. Well, they're
very
here. You know what I
intimate
mean? It's
conversation.
not they didn't ask to be
Brother
born.
wasn't expected
You
to
know
be
what I mean?
responsible if
They're
she dusted,
here,
but if he
so we
didn't follow
can't
through,
just
wasn't a big
say
deal. That's
we
very
can't
true
have
of
that be
how my
the
little brother
everything.
was.
You know what I mean? The end all to
I'm glad
to
he's better
to what
though.
it is. Well, the kid didn't ask to be here, but they still live in his house, and we
Yeah.
still buy them nice things. We
No, because
still
like Nessa, I
we
get you
still
feeling bad about
do
speaking
for
about it,
them
knowing that they have
above and
passed, but
beyond the
you're
basics. We
just
still
speaking
get
your
them their
truth.
Xboxes
So
and their
try
bikes and
not
their
to feel
mopeds and
as
their
bad about
scooters.
speaking your
we
truth and
we
your
we love on
experiences
them.
of
So
how
if
you lived
if it's
and,
just
and the
dogmatic,
things you
which I think with
experienced.
Daquan with his father was a lot of just the dogmatic with a lack of appreciation,
Yeah,
right? Because I don't think that Daquan
because of
necessarily minded doing
the fake
chores
fight.
as long as there was an appreciation that came attached
Mama is
instead
an
of just this
independent, strong woman.
dogmatic, this is what you're going
Absolutely.
to do. And okay, and appreciation can come from words or money. Because me, I told them, you did a great job. This kitchen looks great.
Hot
Thank you.
Pockets are
You know what I mean?
expensive, aren't
So
they?
where
Ain't it like
with the
$15
dad, it's
for
just like
a bag of 12 or
get
a
them
box of
dishes,
12?
the mother effing dishes done, and you know what I mean. And there
These
was
Yeah.
no
Silvers are
thank you.
tough.
There was no
Oh, them little
appreciation for
Debbie
what
honey
was
buns
done.
used
There
to
was
hit.
no
Woo!
gratitude
I
for
didn't
what
get
was
the
done.
iced ones though.
But some parents feel like I don't have to give you
Also,
gratitude.
cleaning,
I'm
that was
taking
not the
care of
case in our
you.
house.
But
And
who
I
doesn't want to be
Absolutely.
appreciated?
no,
Kids
no,
don't want
no.
to be
I
Absolutely.
hear
appreciated.
you, but that's where Daquan's issue came
You
from.
suggested,
But
but it
I
was gonna
do
be if I was
believe that
gonna
some
do it. Yeah.
parents feel like this
Great
is just
dads that
what
we
you
weren't
do.
allowed to
This is
touch.
your
That's how my
job. This
parents
is
were
your
for a little while until
contribution.
we got a little
So I
older.
don't have to appreciate
Just
you.
because it's your job, does that mean that you don't get
Nah, Nessa, I
appreciated?
think you are an anomaly though in your
Oh, I'm
generation.
with you on that. Right. I'm with you on that, that they should get praised, but there are some parents who are like,
Third and will
I
hide this on
think that a
Snacks
good
Mom
parent
too. They
does
had her
praise
off of
their
the
kid
stash.
for doing a good job, right?
I
But there are dogmatic parents who just feel like I don't have
think
to
it's we
tell
know
you
how stuff
anything
felt from
because
the
this
kid
is
point,
just
and we
what
know
you're
what we
supposed
didn't
to
Yeah.
work
do.
or didn't work
Like
for
a
us, so we don't
parent,
want to
does a
repeat.
parent get applauded for going to
Absolutely. And
work?
too many
Does a
parents,
parent get applauded
too
for
many
buying the food?
parents
Does a
repeat
parent get
what they
any
didn't
applause?
like.
And Daquan, you said
It
something
goes.
about this. You said,
That's the
I'm
thing.
not
It
going
goes
to
both
applaud you
ways.
for being a good parent. That's your job to be a good parent. So, what is being a good child then? If you're not going to applaud a parent for being a good parent, then why should a kid get any applause for doing just the basics of being a kid?
Who's
And I
suggesting
think that's
though?
where
Who's
it.
suggesting that a child get applauded for doing the basics? Because I don't think we've made that point. Personally, I personally think that a kid should get applauded for doing their basic things because a kid is different from an adult. A kid needs that positive reinforcement for doing the basic things. And I know that as a kid growing up, I developed severe anxiety from sitting still, from not doing anything because I felt like I was
Mm,
going to get in trouble, because the idea
mm,
of
I
sitting
agree with
still
that.
was a problem. The idea of sitting still was not okay. The idea of doing nothing and taking a self-care day or resting and relaxing and just enjoying being alive, that was not an option. Because if you were
Yeah.
caught doing that, it was like if you were relaxing and just having a good old time just watching your favorite show. If you were caught doing that, you were under the impression that you might get in trouble for not having done something you didn't think of doing, or not having cleaned something you didn't know need cleaned, or not having considered something that's on your parents' mind that's not on yours because you're a kid and you're thinking about what cartoon comes on after Ed, Ed and Eddie. Where you're thinking about what your friend's going to say tomorrow when he sees your new action figure. You're a kid. So the problem that I have is that it's that parents think that kids need to be put in this environment where, oh, they're gonna be fine. They don't need to hear that. You know what I mean? Like, where, mom, that doesn't even sound like you because you constantly positively reinforced us. You
I
constantly
said that I did. No, I said that. I said that I
but
gave you
but
positive
but the whole thing
reinforcement.
is
I said
that,
that your father did it.
no,
I
that's
said your
true. But
father
the
did
whole
it.
thing is that the same token goes with just doing your chores. Although it was an expectation, you started as I got a little older, which this is in my memory as I got a little older. If I did a really good job on the kitchen, you'd be like, dang, you did a bang up job in here. Like you said earlier, you used to commend me on how well I did. And I told you how much that meant to me as not just a kid, but even in my adult life when I went to jobs and they would tell me how good I did. And it made me love that job because that job made me feel like I was contributing and they appreciated me. So, no matter how small it is, a child not only wants but needs that positive reinforcement because they are going to get negative reinforcement. They're going to get it because you have to discipline them. You have to criticize them. You have to let them know when they do something wrong. So why not on that same token give them more positivity to feed off of, to know, and this is something that I've told you as well, Mom, that my punishment came from disappointing y'all because I valued y'all opinion so much that all y'all would have to do is tell me you were ashamed of something I did, and that was enough to get me some act right. That was all you had to do. If I made mom sad with something I said or did, I was getting something together right now to correct my actions because what valued to me was continuing to make them proud. So it I didn't really need more, punishment. Hey, you better get this, get it done, or you gonna have hell to pay. I didn't really need that, So I think every kid's different, but I know how it was for me, and I know that for me personally, the positive reinforcement that I got, and the idea that just being a kid was enough for me, and it requires a lot to just be a kid, especially in today's age.
Let me ask you both a question. When we speak on, because I think that me and you, Daquan, we spoke on um some kids who have to help at, or not even have to, but they go to their parents' restaurant. They help run companies, which you also did. You Daquan did a lot. Daquan helped us run our company as well, both of them. But you know, in different cultures, that's just what you do. You help your parents run their company. That is a part of economics. You know what I mean? It's you're going to help run this company. You're going to come. You know what I mean? This is an expectation of what you do with your family. So when we talk about entitled kids, if we're saying I think that there's a gray line here. There's a thin gray line where if you're saying, well, kids aren't they shouldn't be a parent shouldn't be entitled to feel like or dogmatic to feel like these kids should have to do these chores, then where does that line kind of get blurred when these kids become entitled because you feel like these kids aren't supposed to do these chores? You know what I mean? Like because then a kid can become real entitled, like you was saying with Dalen, because Dalen didn't really have to do much of anything, and when he did it, he half-assed it because he knew that that was a way of getting out of it, and he did get out of it most of the time, or do it real slow, and we would just push him out of the way because we want it done right now. You know what I mean? Where he learned that, we taught him that, like you told us, Daquan, we taught Dalen how to do that. He was like, "Oh, I'm not gonna have to do it if I do a half-assed job." Where y'all would get plucked upside y'all's head if y'all would have did a half-assed job. So here's where I think it's a very where do the lines get blurred? Where do you guys feel like there should be this kind of happy medium between a kid becoming entitled because we don't feel like they should have to do chores because they're not obligated to do chores? When does that become, then they become entitled because then they're getting all of these this extras, or do we not do any extras? You know what I mean? Where is that balance? Give
Okay,
me
so
some
I
examples
I
of
have a
where a
point,
balance would
but I'm
be.
gonna let Candace go first because I do have a point, and it connects to my childhood again. But I'll let you go ahead, Candace, because I have a point of how I want to show where I believe that line is. So go ahead, Candace.
Okay. Um, so you're saying, how do we find the balance between having a child?
Titled kids become entitled because we don't really, we don't feel like a parent should be dogmatic and say, because you said, well, this kid didn't ask to be born. So where where's there a line that's drawn between, if you don't force this, like Ron was saying earlier, if you don't
I think it's
enforce and
oh yeah,
instill these things in this kid,
immature now
one,
because I
I
didn't get
think
the
But you
that's
do
kind
certificate.
of,
force.
huh?
I can
Yeah,
see
you
that,
can
Nessa, like
enforce. Like,
feeling like
Okay,
there
so
are
what is the fine
immature
line between
aspects of your
a parent being
personality, and
entitled
I feel the same way. I
and
feel like I can be a
and
big kid at times,
being,
but I
you know
don't
what I
know
mean?
if
Like,
that's
where
my
should a
upbringing or
kid
anything.
have
I'm not
chores, and
sure.
what should that look
Maybe
like
I'm just a
then
big kid,
to
and
you
that's
guys?
okay.
well, to me,
I didn't get a lot of
yes,
positive
I think
reinforcement as a
a
kid. Now
child
I have a
should have
praise kink.
chores. Like,
I listen. I hear
and
you,
it
a.
gets
I hear you.
really into like
I
parenting
completely
styles
hear
and
you
preferences and things like that. I
because
think,
like and
um,
I feel like that's for a lot of people. Some people's
I
love
think
language
the key
is
difference
is what is
is,
it?
yes,
Words
the
of
delivery
affirmation.
of the
That's
message.
literally
And
just positive
so
reinforcement.
there's a
Being
way
told
to
you're pretty,
say,
being told you
look,
matter, being told you're worth it.
this is a home.
How
Like,
interesting is that?
whether you're here or not, whatever, you're
You
here.
know, it's hard to
But this is
imagine.
a
I didn't
home
talk a
that
lot as a
you also
kid.
live
I didn't
in.
voice my opinion. Now,
And
once I got
as a
comfortable, I'll talk your
family,
ear off. I feel
we
like I voice my views
contribute to this
if I choose.
home.
Choose to.
And, in
Absolutely.
part of the way we contribute, we have
Because you went
different
from one
roles.
extreme of not being
I
able to talk
go
to
to
now
work,
you talk in what you
you
feel
go
is
to
too
school,
much.
and then just
And then
list
it keeps
out the
going. I feel like my dad is
responsibilities or
offended. I'm talking
whatever.
about him.
So,
Oh, geez,
but
Nessa.
to me, of course, it
You're
depends
like,
on
hey,
the
girl.
child, but presenting chores or responsibilities
Like I said,
in a way of,
you're
yes, this is
voicing
something that you
your
have to
truth,
do,
and
but
that's what
that doesn't
matters.
mean that it has to be
I wasn't
such a
allowed to as a
pain
kid.
to do
Absolutely. I feel
it.
like a lot of us
Now
didn't have a
that's up
voice.
to the child and the parent
I
to
didn't hear
figure
my
out
name,
if,
which is why I
if
have
they
a name
like it or
kink.
not. I'm not
Wow.
saying that children shouldn't have chores. They need to learn responsibilities.
My
But
little
I
sister was so
do
entitled when
think,
she
and I
was younger, but
probably
she is
don't
way
have
better
like the
now.
clear cut
That's
answer
interesting
right
because a lot
now,
of
but I
entitled
do
kids that I
think
hear
there's a
of
way for the
have gotten
parent
a
to
lot better in
communicate to the
their
child
adulthood.
and build up
Like they
values
didn't go from being
like you
entitled kids
said, like
to
family
entitled
economics,
adults.
or
They're
like,
actually really
this
getting
is how you
better.
contribute to your family. And when you go out into the world as an adult, this is how you contribute to society. And yeah, that's my answer.
Okay. So
Did that answer
how
your
do you,
question? Because
it does
I
it,
really don't, like, I can't sit here and say, well, the ABC do this and ABC do that. My concern comes into play, or what I would like to do differently is, how do we approach the responsibilities that we have in life to where it doesn't create some anxiety ridden like or like overwhelming responsibility that you don't feel that you have the resilience to go through. And I know this is beyond chores, but it starts with chores. Like, we're building up the habit with chores. Chores turns into school, school turns into college,
Mhm.
college turns into a job. So you're teaching them to have discipline and to be productive. That doesn't necessarily mean chores. I guess that's what I'm getting at. So you can teach them those values, but that doesn't mean yelling at them to wash a dish, or saying
I
that you're alive, so now you have to wash these dishes.
I agree,
So
and
that's where I'm probably not answering the question straightforward.
no, and I agree, Candace. And if I may, I don't know if you had a rebuttal, but I wanted to bounce off of what you were saying, Candace. So I don't know if did you want to say something, Ma?
Yeah, go ahead.
No,
Oh,
please go ahead.
Okay,
Rebuttal.
so bouncing off of what you said, Candace, I actually did one of my points. I had a few points I wanted to make, and hopefully I can stay concise and on topic. A point I was making is I think that we got a little too focused, a little too tunnel visioned on the idea of chores. And I think it's easy to get tunnel visioned on that idea because chores is one of the easiest things to discuss and
That
argue and go have a back and forth about
are
entitlement
expected of a
or
child.
your expectations versus what the kid feels about it. But I think that it's more than that. I think that the entitlement is deeper, much deeper than that, and I think that we all agree. But I think that how I feel is not just, it's not just about chores. I think it goes deeper to the point of um like you said with the message. So I think that this is a generational thing. If you have a generation like and I see this a lot with my fathers, a lot, especially with men, but with previous generations, and we hear this a lot where a previous somebody from an older generation might be like, well, I was brought up like that and I'm just fine. No, you're not. You're not fine. You have
Mm.
depression, you have anger issues, you have anxiety, you are mildly schizophrenic, you have issues. You're not okay. You're alive, and I think
you
that I
survived.
think I think that that's what it is, though, Candy. I think that that's what it is. I think that my mom's generation and her generation previous to that, their success in life was based on survival.
I hope.
And
Mm.
so
Damn,
when
that's
when
deep as hell.
when they were brought up
Yeah,
in a society and brought up in a household that did not teach them the value of themselves and didn't tell them how much that they mattered. They didn't tell
we
them.
going to church today, aren't
Well,
we?
that's the thing, is that they weren't told they had value, and they weren't told you're loved just for nothing. They weren't told that. So many generations grew up like that, and the further back you go, it was harsher and harsher. So the
That could
idea,
come from slavery. You know what I
well,
mean?
that's
That
what I'm
could
saying.
go.
But this is societal, and it's a problem for us because the further generations you go back, it's every generation saying, I didn't like how this was done to me as a kid, but I'm going to do it to my kids. Now the
Mm.
power's in my hand. So when you're brought up and you're told that you're not loved, you're told you don't have value, you're not brought up in an empathetic household, and you're not brought up with a voice. It's this system where you continuously do it to the next one, and
Mm.
you don't give that love if you weren't given it. So if you were brought up and you weren't told that you're mattered, how are you going to tell your kid that they matter? You know? And since
Mhm.
we were brought up with the idea of, hey, I survived, rather than, hey, I thrived, it's created a dynamic of dogmatism, to where the parent is like, I was brought up like this and I'm alive. Therefore, my goal for you is to survive. So I'm going to do to you what was done to me because I know at the very least you'll live. You
Mm.
know, instead of you'll prosper. And
Where's
we
Wow.
my
don't
fan?
we
Where's my
don't
fan
have
so I can
that.
fan
You
him?
know,
That
we
boy
don't
be
have
that
that
boy
yet.
be putting down some truth.
So
So Daquan and Daquan and Candace, um, so I don't even I think that when so with the entitlement, because Dalen had brought up a point. He said that a lot, and I was like, "What the hell do you mean parents are entitled?" He said, "Because you guys think that just because you say so, it's supposed to stick." And I'm like, "You damn straight. We your parents. That's what it is." And he
Hmm.
said, "You think that just because you tell us to shut up, we're supposed to shut up?" And I'm like, "You better or get knocked out." And he was just like, "But why? Why do I have to shut up? Like, what did I do to?" And I think that there's a thin line between wanting to be explain things and being disrespectful, right?
Hmm.
Yeah.
So our generation takes things as a disrespect, right? If you ask me why, which Daquan was extremely inquisitive, um, a lot of our generation will take that as the utmost disrespect. Don't ask me why, because I
They did.
said so, and that's what
Hmm.
it is. Shut
Yeah.
up
Yeah.
and sit down because I said so. Where these kids now want an explanation of why they're in trouble.
Another and
And
another
so
and
I think
another.
that that's where Dalen is saying we feel like we're entitled, because he said, y'all just feel like when y'all say something, it's supposed to be that way. But I also think that these kids got to be real careful. And I know y'all both about to be triggered. You got to be real careful not to get your neck snapped, because watch how you talk to me. You know what I
But
mean?
I
Like
agree with that though.
I agree with that.
Yeah,
I
like
will I will have a
we've all
conversation
said
with
that.
you, but you better be careful how you talk to me.
we
You
all
know
we
what I
all said
mean?
that.
Like, so I believe that the learning lesson from here, because I learned a lot from both of you as a parent, right? And I'm hoping people tune into these topics, because these topics are going to be powerful, and we're going to have these topics to learn and grow, because I'm growing, just because we always think that we can't learn nothing from our kids, but we can.
Yeah.
Even at a young age, I learned stuff from Daquan. I told Candace the other day I had a whole issue with her being my best friend, my sister, because she's so much younger than me, but she empowers me. She makes me feel good. Quan, you know that you my everything. You my rock. And you're my child, but people feel like they can't learn from our children. You
Hmm.
can't learn from a young voice, but young voices help us grow as adults, because when I sat down and I was listening to y'all too, I was like, oh damn, that's deep as hell. You know what I mean? Like, this stuff is deep as hell, and it does go into Daquan what you were saying. When, like I said, when me and Candace unpacked that, just survival. You do this just because.
Hmm.
You
Yeah.
do it just because, with no. I'm gonna tell y'all. I hate to. I know I'm long-winded. I'm sorry. One
No,
of
it's
the
fine.
best
It's fine.
parents.
Listen, we're good.
One of the
I don't
best
care how
parents.
long it is. We're good.
One of our. Ron is about to trigger something, and I'm gonna tell you guys what he said here in a minute. And I'm gonna get to you, Ron. Don't you go nowhere, because we need to talk about that. Um. So one of the best parents that I knew, believe it or not, was my brother Tony. And Tony, to me, Tony was dogmatic as F, right? He was, oh my God, when I tell you he rewarded the hell out of his kids, they brought home a good, great
Oh, the
card,
video we did where
shoe
we thank
store.
you, Vanessa. Yeah,
His
that was.
daughters got tennis bracelets
Yeah, I remember
for
that.
having a good game.
My
You
dad was
like,
white
I
and
was just
my mom
like,
was black and was
I
soft. Yeah.
admired his parenting. He gave them allowances. I couldn't afford to give an
That's
allowance. You know
interesting,
what I
eh?
mean? I wasn't a
I'm the
parent
opposite.
of money. So we
I
we
don't
didn't
tend to
have
let
the
things
money to
pile
give
up too
allowances.
much,
Even if it was five
but I
dollars,
do
we
have
didn't
like a
have
day
that
for
to
like
give.
real
So I'm
deep
going to need
cleaning.
you to just contribute with my words, with my kind
Okay,
words.
dude,
That's
you
all I can
stop.
give you. Where
I'm
where
sorry.
the where Devin's Daquan's father did not give that. You know what I mean? He was more dogmatic. This is just what you're gonna do. I was too. But I looked at Tony as
He's trying to be
being
like a.
one of the best
I know.
fathers. And him and his
Yeah,
wife,
trauma bonding.
Sue and
Interesting.
Tony,
That's an interesting,
because
very
their
interesting.
reward system that they
And
had
he
for
is the
their
therapist.
children
It was a reason
was
why I was in
amazing. I
therapy.
wanted to be one
Like
of their damn kids.
I was I was heavily
Because
considering going
they
into
got
therapy.
rewards out of this world.
Washing dishwasher. I let your
But
dishwasher
he was
dispenser stay the
dogmatic.
same.
He had a
Oh,
foul
so the
mouth. He'd
dishwasher
cuss
needs
you
to wear
out.
out.
You know what I
I
mean?
now
And
hate
he
washing
thump
dishes.
you
Oh, I
upside your
get
head
you.
too. So he
Especially
believed
with
on,
the with
I
a
whoop that
a
tail.
narrative like
So
that. We have
Tony
a
had his
dishwasher
flaws. I'm
named
not going to
Sarah.
put them
Ooh, that would
out
piss
there.
me off.
But
I feel that.
Without those flaws, he was probably those was the set of parents that I seen who
Oh,
did
yep.
it.
We had to stand on
And
chairs. Yep.
why did I think that they was
Yep.
the
I
best
used to
parents?
have to
Because
stand
of
on a
that
stool in
reward
order to do the
system
dishes.
that they
Mm-hmm.
had into place. That
I'd rather throw
reward,
dishes away and get
he
in
was
and watch them
when you
thing.
didn't do right, you was gonna know it
That is
because he would
determination.
jack you up and you knew it. But the reward was
Had eczema
beautiful.
growing up.
I
Oh
mean, they
yeah,
had
I
to
know
make
that
their
that was
beds. They
rough
was
on your
both
hands,
military.
Image.
Mother and father was military, but they made
Yeah,
their
this is
beds
lunch. I
specifically
could make
like they
you
had
watch
to in the
the upload
military.
it up.
Like he go
Dang.
bounce a quarter on your bed. The reward was beautiful that them
Title
two
debate not
parents
about
did with their
chores.
kids.
Can you blame
So
me
I
for parents'
believe
chores?
that
Sheesh. That
what
is
we're saying
awfulness. I'm so
here
sorry.
is that kids shouldn't be just looked at um as a tool for this is what you do because you're a kid, but to be rewarded for that. But then again, I would ask, what is the parent's reward? My reward was the love of my kids. Here, I'm about to trigger y'all real quick with what Ron said.
Hmm.
Doing your chores. And Tatiana, I want to go back to something Tatiana said because Tatiana, when we were talking about this, because at first she was dogmatic.
Hmm.
But then, Candace, when you were saying that when you how me and you how you were just like you got this anxiety in you now because you
Hmm.
feel like you got to always be doing something.
Yeah.
Tatiana
Mm-hmm.
said this. Tatiana said, yes, I agree. I still can't do self-care days. She said,
Mm-hmm.
I feel like there's always someone judging me.
Yeah.
Always someone judging. And
You.
then
That's what I was about to say. It's
You.
you.
Yeah.
where did
Because
that
there
come
is.
from though?
We're judging ourselves.
We are
Right, but
judging
then where did
ourselves.
that come from? Right? And Ron said he started a group for men in prison called Parenting from a Distance. It's and that was going on what you were talking about, Daquan, right?
Hmm.
You know they go from the streets to the prison and they come home and it's just what it is. It's
Hmm.
dogmatic. And and he said the largest point was the right chores for the right age. But then he said this. He went on to say, this is what's going to be y'all trigger. He says, um, that doing chores without being told equals working alone without supervision. So that goes into your adulthood. He said our generation was thick-skinned. This generation feels entitled.
Hmm.
Which
Y'all
generation?
Our
generation.
generation.
He says
Millennials?
Yeah.
he says entitled to these hands. He said, you know, everything is a lesson, but he said y'all feel entitled. We was thick skinned.
So
So Daquan and
I have a
Candace,
lot to say. I have a
I
lot
want
to
both
say.
of y'all to have your word. Ron, don't
Go
you
go
go
ahead,
nowhere.
Candace.
You
No,
stay
Ron,
out.
don't you
I'm
go
gonna let
nowhere. Don't
Ron,
you go nowhere, Ron.
This ain't
Don't
about to
you
give it to you,
you meet
Ron.
me,
I'm
brother.
about to give it
You
to
and
you,
me,
Ron.
brother, in the
Candace, get
Thunderdome,
your
brother.
life together. Candace, you need some water. Sip on some water, Candace. Get me the business, Ron.
Go listen, Candace.
Tatiana
I'll let you
said,
go ahead. I want you to go ahead and have your piece. I have my opinion, but I want you to go ahead and say what you have to say. Because I do disagree, but I will say why here in a minute.
Ron
Okay, so
said,
I just want to be clear
said,
though. Is it like millennials and younger are entitled? Are we talking about like
I
Gen
believe
Z?
so. If he's saying this generation, I would
he
assume that
said
it's
that
any
he
generation after
disagreed.
his.
He said it's going to be your generation because he said that he disagreed with some of the stuff, Candace, that you were saying earlier. So I believe that
Okay.
he's talking about your
Yeah.
generation. Ron, if I'm wrong, oh, Ron said, "Come with it." He ready for y'all.
Oh,
He
oh,
said, "Bring it."
WWE Monday night. Oh,
Oh my
brother, me and
Bring
you.
god.
That's, it's going down.
I think I don't have any smoke. I need more information as to how I'm entitled as a parent. Like is that what it is?
Okay, okay. So on that regard, Candace,
I guess
I'll go ahead since I feel like I have more of a at least an interpretation of what he might mean because I've heard this
yeah.
argument a lot. Um, I
Okay.
disagree, right, Ron? I respectfully disagree because I feel like that when it comes to me as a person, I feel like that it is natural for you to respect the generations that came before you, your predecessors. There's a natural respect that will come with there. That doesn't mean that it's automatic though. Um, but my thing is that I feel like every generation has their own entitlements, and I feel like every generation has their own triggers and sensitivities.
Daquan, is there any way that you could turn your mic up? They said that they can't hear you that well.
Let me see. I can turn. You can turn me up in your Discord. Um, so just go to the video chat, the voice channel. If you can, you see the voice channel. Are you on full screen?
I don't want to touch nothing because I won't be able to get back.
Cause
This
I
generation don't know what we're doing.
if I turn it up on my end, it won't change what it sounds like on your end.
Can you like turn your computer up? Does that help at all?
It would only
Go on
change it
mute.
on my end.
Or Tasha? Yeah,
Yeah.
Tasha.
Okay, go ahead and keep talking, though, Kwani.
Okay. I'll back out full screen
Because
again.
there's somebody else who spoke in. Tyson, thank you for joining us. I appreciate you all being here and staying with us. These topics are going to be powerful, and hopefully we all can learn and grow from them. But Tyson said that 1970s babies have thicker skin. He said Ron is absolutely 100% correct that. And what does thicker skin mean, fellas? What does that
So
mean?
I'll
Yeah.
continue my point because this always makes me laugh. And I think about people like my uncle Kevin, um, because I know how to trigger him in certain ways. I know how to make him angry with certain things that I say. And what makes me laugh is because it's this idea that, oh, they have thicker skin. No, you don't. You get triggered about different things than we do. Things that don't trigger
Mm.
you trigger us. That doesn't mean that you're thicker skin. It doesn't mean that we have thinner skin. It's just that things that don't bother us might bother you, like change. You know. So was that too harsh? I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I said that with so much shade and I didn't mean it. I really didn't mean to say it that way. But
Yeah. Shame.
um it's this idea that, when we go out and we protest, oh, they complain about everything. We want equal rights for women, gay rights and things like that. Oh, they complain about everything. It's the fact that now in this generation we are more active with our grievances than y'all were allowed to be. And that's why y'all
Mm.
think y'all have thicker skin. Y'all didn't get to say the things that upset you. And that's why you have trauma. And that's why you have pent up aggression.
Oh!
And that's why you're angry with yourself. So you don't get to come from my generation because we have the privilege that your generation gave us to get to speak on the things that make us upset. And I'll sit for a little.
Okay, Ron,
That
you
was a
said
good
not you
point.
said not true. What does that mean, not true? What part of what he said is not true? Because I'm going to have to agree with what he said with y'all didn't have a voice to speak up because we absolutely did not. We did not. If my granddaddy or my auntie or my grandfather said to shut up and you did not shut up, you was getting knocked out. We
Wait,
was
what are
not
we
allowed to
talking
ask
about? Are we talking
huh?
about parents or are we talking about like the world?
Parents.
Because I
We're
feel
talking
like
about parenting. He
I well
said that
I
our
encompassed it in both parenting and just like overall generation versus generation.
okay. Well, what do you
Tatiana
because
said
like
older
okay, if you said
generations.
70s babies,
Look,
like
they
there
trying
was
to add
change
that
that
quant.
happened. There was change that was happening during that time, like protests, and
Right.
so I guess I'm trying to like focus back on what we're talking about as
But
far as
that
we
goes
didn't
with my
have the
point though,
voice.
right? Right, Candace, is because the things that we're asking for as far as change and things like that, times are changing faster than they were before, you know. And
Yeah.
and I think that that also has a lot to do with the frustrations of previous generations because they feel like time is moving too fast. Things are changing so fast. They don't understand the youth. They don't understand the next generations, and it frustrates them. It makes them
Yeah.
angry sometimes because they don't understand them. They don't understand half of the slang that we use. They don't get it. They don't understand and they don't grasp everything. And then the things that previous generations feel that things that we are asking for are luxuries, you know. And
what I was going to say.
yeah, and
Yeah,
and I think that that's part of the thing where we feel like these are things that should just be natural, things that are a given. A child
because
should
we
have
have
a
a new
voice.
standard.
Yeah, we have a new standard that we're setting up with. A child should have a voice in the household. Doesn't mean that he should just get to talk back and say "F you, mom." Like
Yeah.
that's not what we're saying. But we are saying that if this child feels like they are struggling with anxiety, or they feel depressed because they're going through a lot at school, or exams is coming up, they should be allowed to approach their parents without fear of repercussion or being called thin skinned. Oh, you suck it up. I had to walk to school both ways in the snow on broken glass with no shoes on. You deal with them SATs and you like it. It's that separation where it's like, nah, I'm not thin skinned. I'm just, we're different.
So, so Tatiana said older generations do get triggered about different things. She
Hmm.
said you're correct, Daquan. She said example, all the new gay roles on TV. She said the
Yes,
older
oh my
generation can't
God.
stand that.
Can't stand
They
it.
can't
Stop
stand it.
shoving the gayness down my throat. That's a weird
Right.
thing to
And so with
say.
Tyson, Ron said you received our grinds. What does the grinds mean, Ron? Break that down.
Wait, what did he
So
say?
he said you received their grinds. I'm waiting for further explanation of that.
Okay.
Tyson says, our respect level was better than this generation's. He said, out of 1,000 kids at junior high school, like he's saying that you guys start being disrespectful at, a junior high level. And then he also says we never had fighting teachers, jumping on administrations in school like we do today. He said this generation has ushered in like a new type of disrespect.
I
Well, how do you
disagree.
guys, what do you say on
I
that?
disagree, but go ahead, Candace.
I mean, I don't really know like how kids acted before I was born, so I don't I
Oh,
don't
we
know.
we we
But
wasn't allowed to act up in school because we were afraid of our parents,
Hmm.
and also because there was corporal punishment in school, so they could actually paddle you in the
Hmm.
schools. They could like
I just
whoop
think
you.
like
It was you
the
could actually
consequences
get
are
paddled in school.
dire.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And that goes with
and I
my
think
point.
that
Yeah.
does create, yeah, that does create a different. See, I think like we're talking about the same thing. It's just like on a broader scale. Like if we talk about generations, there's going to be like process. Like we said before, things get easier. So if what Ron said earlier, which if this is what he was referring to, like we benefit from the work that you put in, like Daquan said. So when times get like as time goes on, it should get easier
Yes.
for people to live.
Yes.
And then instead of worrying about, hey, I need to buy a car, it's more like, well, what color am I going to paint it? Like, I
Hmm.
don't have to worry about buying a car anymore because you bought it for me.
And you
Now,
shouldn't. You
all I have
shouldn't.
to do is worry
Yeah.
about what color I wanted, but now you're mad at me because I wanted blue, but now
Right.
it's black
Right. And
because
and
I'm
you
not
shouldn't
worried
shame
or I'm
them
not
for
appreciative
that. That's a
of getting
success.
the car
Yes.
because it's just like it's a standard. Like I
Hmm.
have the car, and unfortunately I think it's just part of like human, like because we always have to remind ourselves to be grateful and appreciative of what we have because we get used to it. So if we're
Hmm.
setting a standard for a kid, how can we get upset? Or if we're setting standards for a generation, how can we get upset that they're taking advantage of those privileges that we've given them and they're taking it a step further?
Hmm.
Okay,
Like, but
so
we're
so
upset
but
because you're not grateful for the bare minimum that you have, even though I gave it to you, and you're trying to go further, but I'm mad.
so when you say when you say that the kids, we give it to them and then we get mad, we call them entitled, which I don't agree with calling our kids and our this generation of kids entitled. I don't agree with that because if they are entitled, Candace, I'm right there with you. If they are entitled, it's because we created that.
Hmm.
Quan, do you remember? And I'm gonna tell you guys, you'll hear a lot of our business. That's the only way to kind of get the message across. So our my husband, Daquan's father, our his younger brother, he used to always be able to talk back to his dad and
Hmm.
say all of these. They used to argue back and forth, and it was funny. And I used to be like, you need to nip that in the bud because you're gonna create a monster, right? Like you
Hmm.
need to. He That's not funny. That's not cute, right?
Right.
So a lot of parents, when the kids is young, they, oh, that's so funny. He just said bitch. That's so funny. He said ass. nah, you better nip that in the bud. It's so funny when they 2 and 3,
Right.
but when they get to be, 12, that ain't funny no more. Now you want to jack them up for what you allowed,
Mhm.
right? So that goes into what Candace is saying. If this is what we created and what we fostered, then we can't get mad at the results. So, and that's what I used to tell your dad. Like, you can't really want to go off on this kid now because you allowed this for so many years, now that you can't get mad at that. But then I'm going to loop that back to chores, right? I'm going to go and loop that back because these are my expectations of you at a young age. This is what I expect from you as your mother. These are my expectations because this is how I'm raising you. This is how I'm guiding you. This is what I feel like I am entitled to as your mother because this is what I want you to do and what I want you to be in your future. Everything that I did for y'all, I used to always tell you this is going to be for your future. So I think maybe as parents, instead of guiding in a dogmatic manner, it should be in a future and what is best for this child and not as what's best for me as the parent to get from this child.
Mhm.
Am I correct with that?
I agree. I agree. Um,
Yeah.
I think that to add to both of your points, the point that I was going to make, addressing, I think it was Ron, and I think it was somebody else who was talking about how the previous generation had more respect. Um, the reason why I say I disagree is because you can say, oh, we have kids disrupting classrooms and fighting teachers and things like that, but that happens. Like that happened, in the previous generation too. You just didn't see it on your phone. You know what I mean? Like you just didn't have access to see these things happen. Just at the click of a button. You couldn't get on TikTok and be like, oh, here's a video of a
School
kid fighting a
fights.
teacher. Like yeah, like that's a thing you can have access to and see now. But this is something that definitely happened because this isn't new. Like you had bad students, you had rebels, like, and the whole idea of teens in this generation or kids being disrespectful. The rebel teen archetype goes back decades. Like we grew up watching movies with rebellious teenagers and
Breakfast Club.
like yeah, like it goes further back. You go all the way to the 70s. Like you got all these classic movies where you got a bunch of rebellious teenagers breaking the rules and not respecting their parents or the elders or whatever. So to me, the idea that this is some new phenomenon of teenagers having attitudes or being rebellious or whatever the case is just, to me, it sounds like somebody who isn't recognizing that their generation is guilty of the same thing ours is. And
Right.
then on
Mhm.
top of that, the last point I'll make is the idea that the previous generation thinks that their generation had more respect. It goes back to the same point I made before. You didn't have more respect for your elders and things like that. It was just that it was not socially acceptable for you to question them. You could not question them. You could not you couldn't critique them. So
Oh,
if you had
parents,
yeah, parents, any type of authority figures, it was not socially acceptable to question or critique them.
you feel
And
like do you feel like it's acceptable now? You feel like it's
I feel like
acceptable?
it's
It's not.
becoming more socially acceptable, and that is where the trigger comes in, where they feel like they don't like that change. They feel like our generation is more thin-skinned because
Yeah.
it's becoming more socially acceptable for children or youth to air their grievances with authority figures and adults, whereas before, if your generation might had the ability to air its grievances, air its concerns, air its questions, y'all would have. It was the
And this the
idea
Or
it
it's
was the
like,
idea that you couldn't. And so you can't say that because you were obedient to the rules set in place, it does not mean that it was respect. I respect my parents for who they were and what they've done for me, and I respect them from our relationship. But it is not at of obedience. Obedience doesn't equal respect. You don't respect something because you have to. You respect it because
damn,
you want
that's
to.
deep.
You know,
That's deep.
and that's why I say I
That's deep
respect my
as hell.
parents because of what they've done for me, not because I have to respect them. You know what I'm saying?
Mm.
mm,
And I think that goes to those concerns that he had regarding like our generations being different and things like that. We're not so different. We're really not.
Well,
I also
Tyson,
think like
Sorry.
they're like this generation or the newer generations are unpacking like their trauma, and with that we're looking back at our parents like, so like what was really
Yeah.
going on? And I think that's part of like the conversation is just, mental health is like everything right now. So as you start to figure out like, okay, well, why am I this? Why do I have anxiety? Why
Yeah.
do I do this? You're going to go back to your childhood and you're going to go
Yes.
back to your parents.
Yeah.
Like it's just what's happening, and
Yeah.
it is more socially acceptable, and it's actually like encouraged, like,
Yeah.
yes, figure out, go to therapy, figure out what is going on
Figure out your
so you
trauma.
can move past that.
Heal
Yeah.
your pains. Yeah.
So are you? So let me. I want for you guys to tell me. I'm going to ask you a couple questions, and I want for you to um, tell me. I'm going to put this question out there for you to think about. Daquan, you don't have any children right now. Candace, you have one,
Hmm.
a teenager. So I want for you to tell me, Candace, how you parented different and why. And then Daquan, I want you to tell me how you will parent different and why. And then Candace, I want for you to tell me the things that how you parent the same and why. And then Daquan, what things will you do the same and why? But before that, I'm going to go back and I'm going to because thank you everybody, Ron, Mary is not even, she's out of town watching us with family, so
Hi,
I
Mary.
appreciate you joining in. Shawnee, thank you for joining in. Hi, Shawnee. Shawnee said other adults were allowed to whoop us as well, and that was,
Yeah.
Shawnee, you're absolutely correct.
Yeah.
That was where it
Mhm.
took the village, right?
Yeah.
So Candace and Daquan, I want to know how you guys feel about that.
Hmm.
um and let me see. Tyson, let me see. Somebody said something about communication, which is true.
Very true. We
Mary
we we
said
discussed
at
that earlier.
57, yes, Mary said at 57, she was paddled, swatted, fed, soaped. If we mouthed off,
Mm.
had to kneel, put hands straight out, hold books out in hands. And she said, girl, if that was today, everyone would be in jail. They forced respect, which you did touch on, Daquan.
Yes.
You shouldn't have to force respect
Forced
because
respect is not respect. That's
They
obedience.
force
then,
obedience. Yeah.
That's yeah.
okay, and then she said it, and she said essentially that taught us how to behave. And Mary said parents are
It forced
way
you to
too
behave.
lenient
It
with
didn't
kids.
teach you how to
Follow
behave.
the rules.
Okay,
That
okay,
is
hold on,
it's
everybody,
okay.
stay.
It makes me mad because I'm just like it's not teaching. It is literal. That
Well,
is classical
it is.
conditioning. It's
You
Pavlov
Okay,
conditioning.
conditioning is teaching.
It is, but
hold
it's
on.
more brainwashing than it is teaching. It's not teaching. It's not growth.
Well, what's the
It's
difference?
it
Okay,
because
hold on.
teaching promotes growth, whereas conditioning is brainwashing. It is forcing your mind to do a thing against its own will. You have to do this. Whereas teaching
Again,
is it's a growth. It's a natural progression. It is an
so
ascension
you're
from
saying brainwashing is forced.
yes.
Teaching
Whereas
is
teaching
okay.
is
Okay.
yes, because teaching can be interpreted in different ways. Whereas brainwashing, it's you do this or this is the result. You have to do this. It is a forced pattern.
Positive
Yes.
reinforcement or negative reinforcement,
Right.
right? She said parents are
That'll be
way too
interesting.
lenient with their kids. She said she knows some that allow their 13-year-olds, me too, Mary, allow your 13-year-olds to drink as long as they are in the house. What
Oof.
the F? They are nurturing future alcoholics. Tyson says, I work in the school system for over 24 years of the 52 years of being alive. When they took out the paddle from the school in 1984, the system went backwards. It starts at home first. When mom kept you in check, the teacher only needed to threaten that they'll call your parent. If the child disrespects his parents, they'll go to the school and the other places and model what's allowed at home. Then he says discussing things in a proper way is taught. You're not just born with that.
Mhm.
He also says, um, my children have only had hands put on them once a piece, and it was warranted. All lectures and assertive conversations.
Yep.
Tyson says, thank God for ass whoopings because it made his generations what they are today, damn it. The parents are scared of the teachers. The teachers are scared of the administration. Administration is scared of the school board, mixed with the government and the kids. Everybody's scared of everybody. He said, he said that his kids ain't scared of no damn body. You can't come to my class and punk me and threaten to beat me up and then think we're going to teach you, supposed to teach you. I got what you need. You don't have an eighth grade education and skills, so That's a village. So he's just basically, so
There was a lot there.
think that think that we can't understand from the school level, because I think that being a teacher is a totally different animal, right? Because they take on 20 kids a day, 20, 25 kids a day. And I think that that's a totally different beast. We're
That
talking
is
about
that
three or four kids in a
that's a
room.
whole show on its own, really.
That's a whole
Like,
show within itself. Tyson, thank you so much for staying so long with
Thank
us.
you.
Everybody, I appreciate it. And your valuable input. So I think
You asked
that
us a question
Tyson,
earlier.
yeah, you
we're
did
gonna
ask
talk
a
about that.
question.
We're gonna talk about that another day, because being a teacher is just a totally different beast.
Yeah, we'll talk
But
about being a
as far
teacher different. That's a whole, yeah.
as at home, I'm going to allow for, with everything you guys said, as far as they're too lenient on kids, um, and these kids kind of behaving appropriately because of how lenient they are, because they don't basically um they don't parent the way that we parented. They're too lenient. So are we saying that we are creating um bad kids because they're a lot more lenient on their kids? Is that what we're saying? Candace, I'm gonna let you respond first with how you parent differently than us, and why. Like, how are you raising your kid differently, and why, and the things that you kept
From my parents.
yes.
Yeah. Okay, so what I'm doing the same is uh probably a lot of it. Like definitely as far as I started off very strict, very disciplined. These are your chores, these are your responsibilities. This is teaching you life. Um very big on that, and the respect. Like I was in the beginning, it was very, don't ask me why, do what I say. And part of me is still that way because I understand like sometimes there is
Can you
a
speak up,
sense of
Candace?
urgency. Oh yeah. Can you hear me now?
Can you hear her
Is that
now?
better? I'm like yelling. Is that better? So
You may have to
when
turn her mic up as well, if you just in case, if you can.
um
Can't, so she's gonna have to do the
Oh,
best.
okay.
okay. Oh yeah. So the things that I'm doing the same, definitely discipline and like the respect factor. Now I am trying to like communicate more. So that's what I do differently. I was raised, there was no communication. It was do what I say. And there wasn't really like a relationship either. And so that is something that I'm doing different um with my child is I definitely talk. Like in the beginning there was physical discipline, but then that kind of like um filtered out and I just began to talk more about like why things are happening. And then earlier when we were talking about like the communication side of it, or like having feeling like you're in it with your kids. So if it's like chores or like grades, I'll give grades as an example. Like you're not doing well in your class. It may seem like I'm harping on you because you're missing your assignments, or yes, it's a C and it's a high C, but we made an agreement that you want to go to this college and you want to play here, and that means that you need a scholarship. So in order for us to accomplish our goal of what you want to do, these are the things that we need to do. So kind of making sure that they understand the value, because I never understood the value of what I was doing. I just knew that I
Hmm.
had to do it. And so
Hmm.
like understanding the why and understanding the value goes longer than just do what I say because you respect me, because that kid is leaving the house. And you, the parent who they respect and fear so much, is not always going to be around them. So what happens when you're not in the picture? Are they just going to supposed to respect and fear any other authority figure that walks into their life, like their boss or some other random person? So I think understanding again the why and the value of what I'm actually doing, and I know that's difficult for kids, but I mean it's just part of the process,
Mhm.
is what I'm trying to do differently, so that hopefully in the long run it's like, okay, I didn't like doing the chores. He hates them for years, never liked them. I don't like doing the chores. Hopefully, I'll understand that, okay, now I have my own place. Washing a dish, I understand that. Somebody's coming over my house. No, I don't want them to just walk over my carpet with their shoes on. So like that's what I'm doing different. Um, yeah, in a nutshell.
Yeah,
And
I feel
why?
that.
Sorry,
Yeah,
I'll
why?
answer why really quick because I realized the risk and how it impacts and can sometimes make you stagnant in life. Like when you build up or when you learn these certain ways to process things or go through life, at some point they may not work because it goes back to survival mode. We're being taught how to survive. And at some point when you stop needing to survive, what are you going to do? You need to know how to just live
Live. Yeah.
in the life that you created so you don't have to continue to act like you're in survival mode.
So you can have value outside of what you can do.
Yes, value
Like,
outside of what you do. Like I don't know. And like we all know that life is precious and life is short. And the more I think about it, the more I'm like, really is a chore? Like really? Like is it that serious? And so I'm trying to find the balance between yes, we have responsibilities in life, but life is meant to be lived and enjoyed at the same time, even for a kid. So,
I agree. I think it's hard for me to answer that question of like parenting, not being a parent. So I can only do the best um, like assumption of how I believe I will be a parent, be a dad, based on my sense of optimism with a sprinkle of like naivete on how I think parenting might go. Because I can't get into the intricacies, the difficulties that are inevitably going to be confronted, when I am a parent. But I can state my goals of being a parent and the things that I want to foster and the things that I want to be as far as being a dad. So first thing I want to discuss is like how I want my home to feel for my child. I feel like too many of us did not feel like our home was our safe space. Like our home was our haven for where we could go be ourselves, speak ourselves, and love ourselves. And and that's because we were always dealing with some sort of pressure, whether it was societal pressure, pressures from our parents or our siblings. We were always dealing with something. So one of the things I want to foster is try to promote my home of being an environment where my kid can be their full self at all times, unapologetically. Um, like I said, there might be some naivete there because I don't know what that consists of, but I also want to promote communication, where I don't want to feel challenged by my child when I'm questioned. I want to be able to take on the
mhm.
challenge when my child asks me, "Daddy, why am I in trouble?" If that is a question that I feel like I am not capable of answering without feeling challenged or threatened, then I don't feel like I would have been doing a successful job as a parent. I have to be able to take that, even if it's a criticism. Daddy, I didn't like when you did that. I have to be able to take that and learn from my child and know, my child didn't like that. Let's see how I can change this to make it something that my child can grow from. Which brings me to my next point. I want to foster an environment of learning and growth where my child can learn from everything and anything, me, themselves, the world, their home. I want to foster learning as like a number one thing. I want to foster it as you can learn from anything at any time, anywhere. And so when you go out into that world, you go out into the world with an open mind rather than a closed one. And you go out and with an open mind saying you can learn from no anybody, the janitor, the CEO, your coworker, anybody. You can learn from anybody in any situation rather than going out with an expectation like this is what I'm going to do, this is how I have to do it, and this is how it's going to be done in this order so I can succeed. That can still be there, but I also want to foster the fact that You can go out in the world and not be scared to learn and explore the way that the world works for you. And so there's a lot to it, and I try to keep it as vague as possible because I can't try to get into the specifics of how I'm going to parent because I don't know. I don't know. I'm not a dad yet. I don't know.
Yeah.
So I can only
Yeah.
go over the basics of the things that I have as goals of a parent that speak to me of the best things I can give my kid that you can't buy in a store, that I can just give you from my body. That's all I can give you. So I think that that's like some of the main things, like goals of parenting. Those are the main ones: communication, affection, empathy, understanding, learning, growth. These are all themes of how I want to have a household for my kid or children.
I think that
So-
we're going to come back. This ended up being a 2 hour show. I thank all
Yes.
of you guys so much for staying on here for 2 hours.
Yeah.
Obviously, this
Yes.
topic meant a lot to you because that's very rare. So
Yeah.
I really appreciate Ron. Oh my gosh, Shawnee, Tatiana.
Yes.
I
Thank
mean,
you.
thank you guys so much. Tyson,
Love the
you
conversation.
know, like
Bye,
Mary. I
Nessa.
mean,
Thank you
they
for coming
literally
through.
stayed on here for like 2 hours. So this topic hit home for them.
Yeah.
So I appreciate them staying on here. This is definitely something that we're going to have to approach. I noticed that within this show, we talked about several
I can
things
so
that I
I can
want to
show my
come
shoulders
back
too.
to. Yes, look at me. So
I say, look,
maybe
we
that
all
helped you.
show some
Maybe
shoulder.
maybe that
Show a
helped
little
you
bit of
get
show.
it.
I can show some shoulder meat too. I got sexy shoulders.
um hey, you guys, before we go, I'm going to say please make sure that you I asked Ron, I'm going to put this last comment in here, Tyson. Ron, my daughter, because I asked, because when Candace was talking, they were kind of inboxing me some, not inboxing, but putting some questions on here. I asked if they felt like it was okay for a child to talk to a parent, to question a parent, because we weren't allowed. Ron said, my daughter came to me before her mom about many issues, and I was the disciplinary of our household. Her explanation was I was hard with discipline, but I was fair. And so Ron, with that being said, you said you guys were thicker skinned, but you yourself allowed for your child to have a voice, right? So, you did change from how we were raised, Ron, because I don't know about you, but I wasn't allowed to ask no damn questions. So Ron, it sounds like, for what you were telling them earlier, ready to fight, you raised your child a little differently. So I'm gonna applaud you on that
Yeah,
because change,
absolutely.
right?
Good for
Yeah.
you.
And Tyson says a child can question anything as long as appropriate question. And I said that earlier. Remember,
Hmm.
I said, don't disrespect me. We can
Yes.
talk, but don't disrespect me.
There's
Thin
two
line.
sides to it. There's two extremes. You can
Before I
question it, but you don't have to be a dick about it.
Yeah.
Oh
I
my God,
there's
Vimby said,
Curious.
"Hi, Vimby, baby.
Hi, cousin.
Vimber's here."
Ah,
Bibby said, "Why
oh,
y'all didn't call me? Why didn't y'all put me on?" She had so much
oh
to
my
say about this
gosh.
topic. Baby,
Oh,
you
I
definitely
feel
gonna have
guilty.
to
I
go
didn't.
back and you're gonna have to
Did
go
she
back
just
and watch
join?
this show.
She must
You're gonna have
have.
to go back. You're gonna have to
Oh,
go back and watch this show, Vin,
I
because
would
I
have
know
been a
you're gonna
good
be
one
I
too.
would have
in
loved
all
to
kind
have
of
her on. I did
I
not. I didn't
know.
even think about it.
I
Like,
didn't think about it
well, I
either.
think it was mainly because Candace. I think this was your show topic, was it not?
It
yes,
was.
it
Yeah,
Yeah.
put it
was.
So
all on
I
me. Yeah,
yeah.
it's my fault.
Yeah.
Yeah.
November,
No, I
November,
didn't mean it
please
to
go
like try
back.
to throw you under the bus.
November, please go
Right.
back and type in comments and questions and everything, because we're going to have some more of these topics, because Tyson, he says a child can question anything as long as appropriate. I give you your due process. Everybody that has a child thinks it's going to go the way they think, but when you get to that process, it's going to be different.
And
That's what Tyson said, and I
but
agree with that,
that's what
Tyson.
I was
Yeah.
saying. I was saying I
Yeah,
don't.
no, he's not just, yeah.
No, like,
And
cause I'm
Ron
like
said
I
that.
can only give you my goals as a parent, but I can't tell you how it's gonna go. And I'm gonna raise my kid to do this, and they're gonna listen, and they're gonna do it, and they're gonna go to school, and like I don't know how the ins and outs is gonna go. I can just tell you what I hope to achieve. Just like in school, I hope to achieve this level of academic success. Do I know if I'm going to run into some struggles? Maybe. I don't know. I don't know how it's going to go, but I can only hope to achieve these certain things as a parent. So I hope that that came across in a way to where I wasn't telling you this is how I'm going to do this and this is how it's going to work for me as a parent, whereas I'm just telling you this is what I hope to do as a parent. I recognize that it's not going to go that exact way. Most plans
So
don't.
Ron and Tyson, we're running out of time, but Ron and Tyson, we're never running out of time, but we're gonna end this. But
Yeah,
Ron
hour
and Tyson,
45 is good.
yeah, if you don't mind responding, one last time about, because both of you guys were pretty much saying that, our generation was more thick skinned, but you guys are allowing for your kids to have a voice. So is that not deemed as, is that being thick skinned? Um,
I
Ron
think that
said it depends.
I think that they
It's
were
just
referring to
bias.
different things, uh,
Okay,
not
okay.
necessarily that
So,
aspect.
okay. So we're gonna go back and we're gonna talk about traumatized parents and parenting, which is kind of the same, but I think that that is a huge topic. Traumatized parents and how they spill that trauma onto their kids.
Rejection.
Oh yeah,
Projection.
projection
Yeah,
heavy.
we're going to talk about that, and we're going to talk
Tyrone
about
Harris.
Daquan. We're going to talk about. Listen, Libby said, "Woo, this was probably good." November was really good, but we're going to talk about traumatized parents. We're going to talk about porn. We're going to talk about kids watching porn
Oh, we're
and
gonna
how
talk about
parents
porn. We're gonna talk about it. I can't wait.
so we're really what we want to do. And I'm going to say this to close the show for all of the parents who are out there and the new parents and some of us older parents and who still got kids in your house. I
Hi,
learned
Aaron.
I want to say that I grew differently and I've apologized to my children.
Hmm.
And sometimes apologies is good and accepting that we didn't always get it right. And I think that admitting where we were wrong and going to your kids and say, "Hey, I apologize for this," because some of us don't like what our parents did to us, right? And we would like that acknowledgement, like you were wrong doing this. You would like that acknowledgement, and I went to my kids and I apologized because I was so dogmatic. I was so mean early on because it was a learned behavior, and even with switches, whooping with switches, you know what I mean? That came from slavery. So I had to learn and grow, but I did actually have to go back and apologize to my kids from some of the trauma that I had learned that I spilled onto them. So it's not too big as an adult to go back and kind of clean up some of that mess that we spilled on our kids and to grow and be better and get better because we never stop being parents. Just continue to be. Vimber said, "Oh, Ron, he said, so did he. Growth. At hashtag growth. Yes, absolutely. And that's what we want from this show. We want everybody to grow just a little bit more, love a little bit more, feel and live and feel alive." Vimpy said, "Wait a minute, I want to be on the next one."
Okay. We'll have to figure out the topic and
That
bring her on because I actually
Yes.
really like. I think November brings a lot of different perspectives that I've been able to learn a lot from November. And in when she speaks about something that she's knowledgeable in and something she's passionate about, she gives off gems. And I think that I actually had to get over some of my biases because she's my little cousin, and I didn't think of her in that way to where she could enlighten me. And I think that many
Because we
older
don't
people
feel like we
we
can
don't
learn from
we
young
don't feel like
people.
we
I
can learn from
totally
people younger than us
understand.
because we feel like it's my job to teach you. Whereas she's taught me a lot.
mhm.
She's taught me so many things that I didn't ever expect her to teach me. So I actually look forward to hearing from her on any topic that we happen to have that she feels comfortable talking about. But with that being said, Candace, I know we want to close this out. Do you have any closing statements that you want to give? And I'll give my closing statements and we'll get out of here.
Oh, I thought the conversation was great. Yeah, I like had this on my mind, so it was nice hearing the different perspectives and just having just having a good
Right.
conversation. Yeah, and I appreciate everybody joining in the chat. Like, we don't always have to agree. Like, it's fine. I think that's the beauty of just having a discussion because, like Tasha said, you get to learn different perspectives, and I definitely learned and was able to like look at things differently even through this conversation. So I appreciate the time, appreciate the conversation. You can reach me at Candy Rain Productions on all platforms,
Mhm.
or the Inner Circle series if you want to watch a funny web series.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. For the inner circle,
Hey,
the inner circle.
matter of fact,
Is
hold on. We first of all, I'm going to need for you guys to do that. The inner circle. I need for you to
yeah.
go to the Facebook page and to the YouTube
I was
page.
gonna
And it's
ask where the if the is it the inner circle on YouTube?
Yeah, at the
Okay.
Inner Circle
Okay.
series.
So if they just type in the search bar the inner circle series and it should come up.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So
please
if that's
watch that. Please share it. Please support. It is
that was
actually a hilarious
yeah, that
show
that
that
was a lot of
Candace
fun that
created.
she did.
Yes, and we
I
got to
liked it a
support each
lot.
other. Yeah, it
Yeah,
was
so if you're
Yeah.
amazing.
interested in checking out a funny web series that is starring my cousin, that's her right there. That's her, you know.
And there's some
So
more shoulder.
there's a lot of shoulder in the show. Sarah said, and the rating just went up to PG-13.
Daquan, do you have any closing words?
I'm pretty much right aligned with you guys. I thank you both of y'all. I had never thought of this show topic. Me and mom have had a lot of conversations going back and forth about parent-child dynamics. So this is something that we're very familiar with, but we didn't really think of it in the sense that you had brought to the table, Candace, when you had said it in the way you did and framed it the way you did, to where I looked at it and was like, huh, that is a real thing. Like, many parents do feel like this, and this dynamic is established not just from parent to child, but generation to generation. You know, so thank you for that because that was such a brilliant show topic. So if you got any more of those, bring them to me. They up there.
Yeah.
But yeah, I love what we can do here. I know that we went for almost 2 hours, but I don't mind it. I've actually been getting a lot of inspiration from not just my chat, but YouTube comment section, where I apologize for the length of my video because I'm always thinking about the algorithm. I'm always thinking about viewership and viewer retention, and my audience has inspired me to remind me to say, hey, if people are interested, they're gonna watch. And if you're passionate and you enjoy what you're doing, don't apologize
Don't
for
apologize. I
making the
love it.
video long. And that's actually Image. Thank you for that because that was actually a quote you quoted by you. Nessa, you told me. Sarah, you told me. A, you told me. Y'all have all told me that. So I wasn't worried about the time limit today. I was enjoying our conversation. And I love the fact that we can all come from different perspectives, different generations, different backgrounds, and different genders. And even disagree on things and do it civilly, do it respectfully, and not just learn from each other, respect one another, and grow from the conversations, and that other people can grow from the conversations we have. So I love what we do here. My only complaint is that we don't get to do it more often. Like that's
Yes,
that
but
would
we
be my
will.
only
We
thing,
will.
is that I wish we
Yeah,
could do this
we
more
will.
often because
And
these
and
are
we
these are
will.
really
We
fun.
need to. I'm so sorry. We need to set days because a lot of people were asking, like, "Hey, did you let us know that you
Yeah,
was doing this?" Which
which
I
I didn't.
didn't,
No, none of us did at all.
because a lot of people will
Gotta be
join.
on your toes.
Yeah.
Yes, so I love you guys so much for joining, and you guys, Candace, you know that you're my everything, and these two right here who is on the screen, they're my heartbeats. So, oh, Darian is on. Hi, D.
Hi,
I
Darren.
was
Hi,
talking about
Cuzzo.
your daddy earlier. Darian, you got to go back and make sure that you watch this and give your input, because I was talking about your family actually, that your family, your mom and dad was actually some of the parenting that I looked up to. So go back and make sure that you check this show out, because yeah, we made mention of, your mom and dad as far as what I saw in my life as being good parents.
Yeah.
So make sure you go back and check it out, and we'll definitely set days. Thank you everybody for staying on here for these two
Thank
long ass
you.
hours, and
Yeah.
hopefully we learned and we grew, and we keep loving and living. And thank you so much. I love everybody. Thank you so
Thank y'all.
much.
Love y'all. Appreciate everybody.
Bye.
Thank y'all. Love y'all.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye. Love
Bye.
you.
Love you. All right. That was a lot of fun. That was a lot of fun, y'all. Um, my screen actually isn't up, so give me 1 second. My camera is not up. Give me 2 seconds, actually. Y'all can still hear me though, right? Actually, I'm not leaving just yet. I wanted to interact with y'all a little bit, and hold on, hold up. Let's go to let's see. Now that Discord isn't using my joint, let me see. Oh, here we go. Okay, hold on, and go back to here. There we go. There I am. All right. Hello, 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 hello. I disappeared. I am your conscience. It got real in the chat. I know, I saw. I was having difficulty trying to interact with chat because I kept having to mute my chat so I wouldn't talk over them. But that's actually why I wanted to talk to you guys for a little bit because I wanted to read some chat and talk to you guys a little bit and catch up on chat. Talk to you guys. I know Nessa, she's already had to head out. And I'll probably have to get off here a little shortly. I may be back later today. I don't know. It just depends on if I decide I'm going to the gym or not. I might just go to the gym tomorrow, cause I might go donate some plasma again. So yeah. So it just depends. I don't know. I just have to figure it out. Um, so yeah, but that was a ton of fun. I thank y'all for sitting around. I know it's nothing for y'all to sit with us for 2 hours because y'all normally sit with me for like 5 hours. So it's not a thing to where I'm like, oh yeah, I can't believe y'all stuck with me for 2 hours, 3 hours. Nah, like y'all stick with me for like 5 hours, 6 hours. I've done a 10-hour stream before and y'all stuck with me for damn near the whole time. So like. Trust and believe. I know y'all some real ones. I know when it comes to chat, y'all the best of the business. You know what I mean? They don't get no better than y'all. What was more traumatic, Pearl Harbor or 9/11? I said I wasn't alive for Pearl Harbor, so I'd say the latter. Yeah, that man, that's such a tough question from a 10-year-old. Good God. Let me skip forward a little bit. Did not care if I lived or died as a teen. Dang, Image, I didn't know. I think that 10-year-old was messing with you, Sarah. By the way, abuse and discipline because of my mom and dad too. Right, right. And that's so interesting, Image, because it's so easy for a child to know the difference between discipline and abuse. You know what I mean? Like kids are not as dumb as adults like to think they are. Like kids don't know as much as adults, but that doesn't mean that they're dumb. And I think that that's so important for parents and adult and authority figures to understand that just because somebody's younger than you doesn't mean that they're dumber than you. You know, and I've had to learn that with a lot in my life. My little brother is younger than me by a lot. So he doesn't have as much experience, but there are things that he knows more about than I do. And if it comes to computers, I might call that man. When it comes to phones, I'm gonna probably call that man because he knows things that I don't. He's good at what he does. He's a smart kid. So it's interesting, that dynamic and the thing that we know we're aware. We just don't understand how everything that's going on, but we do know that what abuse feels like. Say it ain't so. That goes, dear daddy, I write you in spite of years of silence. You clean up, found Jesus. I don't think I've heard that song. A Weezer song. I don't even know who that is. Spiritual person, he's a much better person now, but he's still a trip sometimes. That's so interesting. A lot of us have like issues with our fathers. I grew up hating my dad. Like I did not like my dad at all, and I only developed like a positive relationship with him in my adulthood, really. But I did not like him at all. I had made it my determination that I was never gonna like when I moved out. I was never gonna see him again. That's how I felt. Like I was like, I'm not. Mm-mm. Shout out to BTS. Hey, love yourself, speak yourself. You already know who. You already know. You already know where it was coming from. You have to learn to respect boundaries, both theirs and yours. Yeah, Image, I'm glad you caught that. I feel like every BTS fan is going to catch that one. Love yourself and speak yourself. That and truer words, man, haven't been spoken. You have a sexy everything team. I honestly didn't even see that before I read Sarah's message. It was at the top, so your message was right above it. I didn't even see it. Hey, that's hilarious. It definitely got real in the chat. Our next discussion should be how kinks are formed by your parents. That is a very interesting discussion, eh? But I think that it's tough to dissect it for me personally because I personally don't know if I have any kinks. Um, I wouldn't call the things that I like kinks because the things that I like. So, for instance, like I like when a woman reaffirms my attractiveness. But that doesn't come from my parents' relationship with me. It comes from my childhood and my interactions in my social life, all the way through my teenage years and in my adulthood. I never truly felt attractive. Um, I tried to do my best to embrace my attractiveness and my sexuality. Um, in order to like feel attractive, but I never really felt attractive. So, and I always dealt with self-esteem issues. So when it came to um like a woman reaffirming my attractiveness, it is something that I really appreciate, but it's not a sexual thing for me. I wouldn't consider it like a sexual thing for me. It's an emotional thing for me. It's genuinely tied to my sense of self-worth. Like, if a woman reaffirms to me like you're the most handsome man I've ever seen. Like things like that. Um things like that would be like dang, like that, nah, dang, thank you. That makes me feel good. So like when Nessa compliments me, when A compliments me, Image, like whenever I get compliments like that, it definitely does a lot for me because that positive reinforcement goes a long way for somebody who is constantly giving themselves negative reinforcement. Like I was always constantly telling myself that I wasn't good enough and wasn't attractive enough, and nobody, I remember I used to say to myself when I was a teenager, like, man, I just want girls to like me. Like that was a thing I used to say to myself all the time. I just want girls to like me. And I didn't even really know what I meant by that. I just felt like, my brothers and my cousins always used to get this attention from girls, and girls used to swoon over them and flock to them, and, they used to just sweat them. And I'm like, dang, like, I kind of wish that, girls like me like that, like, and I wouldn't even know what I would do with that kind of attention. How would I feel? Like, would I be cocky like they were? Would I be full of myself? I don't know. Um, so it's real interesting how my lack of attention and my lack of pursuit by women created this persona within myself to where like I can be very humble when it comes to me and embracing my sexuality and attractiveness to where it's like, hey, like I'm just happy with myself. I'm happy with the skin I'm in and I'm satisfied and I want to get better and I want to work on myself. But I've never gotten cocky. I've never gotten full of myself and I don't want to, you know. Um so it's just one of them things to where I find that it's a really interesting dynamic within my own mind. Kids are always listening. They pick up on body cues and know things that you would be surprised they know and retain. But Sarah, that's the thing with me is like I feel like the only reason why people get surprised by how much they know and retain is because they think kids are dumb. Kids are actual sponges. Psychology and sociology describe children's brains as sponges because they soak up information. They're always watching, observing, learning, and that went to my parenting thing is like if I know that my kid is constantly going to be learning from me and understanding and recognizing things that I do, I want to demonstrate this is how an adult acts with patience. If I get frustrated with something, I don't want to break something. I want to be like, ugh, take a deep breath. Let's focus. Let's dissect the problem. Let's figure out what we're doing, and let's solve the issue. If I'm having a disagreement, I want to show the kid this is how adults disagree. We can respectfully disagree or agree to disagree and be like, we'll leave it at that. Because kids will see that they will learn if they see their parent or authority figures or adults or respected figures react to things immediately with violence. If somebody says something they don't like, they punch them in the face. How you think that kid is gonna feel? How you think that kid is gonna take that information and be like, well, dang, it got that dude to shut up, didn't it? If that's the attitude, that kid is gonna go up and might get in some trouble because if a kid at school says something they don't like, they're gonna punch him in the face and now they're in trouble. Well, that's how my dad handled problems. That's how I'm gonna handle problems because they didn't know how to handle problems in a civil manner, in a manner to where it's like, okay, let's figure out why we had this disagreement. You know, So it's interesting, like I think that that's uh something that people are only surprised with because they have this weird sense of superiority over children where they just think this little dumb little stupid thing, where it's like no, kids are very bright, they're very smart and can be very attentive and brilliant. That's what would be here, binoculars and popcorn. For me, I have a praise king because I never got positive reinforcement. But A, do you think that that's just from your parental relationship, or do you think that that's from your social relationships, your boyfriend relationships, boyfriend girlfriend relationships? I don't know, from your sibling relationships. Like you can get positive reinforcement from many different places and authority figures. Do you think that maybe if you had gotten more positive reinforcement from maybe not your parents but other authority respected figures, aunts, uncles, things like that, that maybe you wouldn't have a praise kink? So I that's the reason why I say this, because like I don't want to just tie it to parental relationships, because I think that kinks don't just come from um homes and childhood experiences. They come from societal experiences, so the child's peer experiences, their sibling relationships, their parental relationships, their authority figure relationships, things like that, so that I was just broadening what I feel like and wonder is if that's the case. Also had rough sex with aftercare because I was abused as a kid but had to deal with it alone. Ah, that's interesting. So rough sex and then to be held afterwards. Interesting. Interesting. And I can understand that. I can see that. On behalf of Nessa, should we agree to absolutely have this conversation? Um, maybe. So maybe our next discussion can be if kinks are formed by their social lives environments. But only when she's here. Yes, yes, yes. Absolutely. Absolutely. I've been in the BDSM scene for over 10 years and I have a very simple philosophy. Enjoy it, all your kinks, just respect health and boundaries. I feel like image that right there should enjoy it, all your kinks, just respect them. You can put enjoy it, all your anything. Just respect health and boundaries. I feel like that applies to so many things. It's almost universal. Enjoy your life and all of its entails. Just respect your own health and boundaries and other people's healths and boundaries. You know, that I feel like that's almost universal. It's not it shouldn't be hard, but too many people struggle with this. Too many people cannot enjoy their own life without disrespecting other people's health and boundaries because they feel attacked by other people's health and boundaries. So if a parent sets certain boundaries for their kids and another parent doesn't like those boundaries, why are you mad about how that parent is raising a kid? Well, they're going to be bad. Do you know that? Do you know that for sure? Maybe you don't like the way this child acts now, but that child may get his act together. Maybe that child's going to learn things that you didn't know they were going to learn. It's just a thing to where people police themselves and others so much. Good God, so much. Like people stop policing each other so hard. The thing is, there's nothing wrong with having an opinion on other people and other people's lifestyles and things like that. There's really nothing wrong with that. But to try to influence them or tell them they have to do this thing this way or they should do this thing this way is like, look, it's just you're doing too much. You don't gotta worry about what they doing all like that. If it ain't no direct threat to you or harm to you, then what you worried about? You know? But you got too many people who are like, oh, these gay kids out here are gonna make my kids gay. That's weird how that works because I never heard that work with straight people. I never saw straight couples on TV and thought I have to be straight. Like no, I wanted to be. You know what I mean? Like I know what I like. I learned what I liked. There was no telling of what I was gonna like as I grew up. I don't know what I was gonna be into, but I found it. You know. So it's just weird how people just think like, oh, that exposure to them, they're gonna learn being gay is okay, and I don't like that. Just because they learn being gay is okay, they ain't gonna make them gay. Like I've been knew being gay was okay. Didn't make me gay. I respect gay people. I don't care. What they got to do with me? Like it's so weird how they'll have this philosophy of just like, oh, uh, um, I want you to leave me alone and not worry about what I'm doing, but I want to worry about what you're doing. Like it's so weird. I had limited contact with other family members, but my teachers called me smart and pretty, but it made me fall in love with them, so I don't count that. Ah, interesting. You know what, I actually had an experience like that. I'll never forget my teacher. Her name was Mrs. Miller. She was my eighth grade English teacher, and I thought that I really really liked her. I thought that I had feelings for her. Um, and I didn't know why. So I used to bring her gifts. I used to bring her apples, and I used to bring her like stuff. And I remember one time I had a teddy bear with a heart. It's like a I thank you, I love you teddy bear. And I had got it from a crane machine that I had won at the Kroger up the street. And I had put it in my backpack, but it was too big to fit in my backpack, so the top of it was sticking out. And I remember people kept asking me like, "What's that teddy bear for? Who's that teddy bear for?" And I was just like, "Oh, it's for my teacher." And they were like, "You got a teddy bear for your teacher?" I was like, "Yeah." And so when I gave her the teddy bear, she was really appreciative of it, and she was really thankful for it. She was like, "Thank you. Nobody's ever done that for me. That was really sweet of you." And it made me feel so happy. It made me feel so good because she had it on her desk, and I felt so good. And like after I had gave her that teddy bear, I started to understand like it wasn't that. It was just that she made me feel worthy. She made me feel like I was worth her time. She she reinforced me with so much positivity and emboldened me to do better as a student, you know. And she just praised me, and I didn't recognize what that praise really felt like because I hadn't really gotten a lot of it. Most of the things that I had got were negative reinforcement from myself, from my dad, criticisms from other people, and myself. Again, like I criticize myself so hard, but I can resonate with that because I had to realize that I didn't have a thing for my teacher. It was just that I just wanted her to continue being my teacher because she made me feel like I had value. So I really do tie it to my parents. I think that that's a specific thing for you, A, to where I think a lot of people's kinks may even come from their boyfriend girlfriend relationships or, things like that. Maybe they developed a kink from not getting enough affection from their romantic partners. So I think kinks are broad like that, to where everybody's kinks will come from a different place. Feet kinks, though, I still don't understand where feet kinks come from. Why the heck do people? Where does a feet kink come from? I don't know what you went through as a kid to make you want to have sex with some feet. I don't know. How does that happen? How does that happen to where you like, hey, them feet is sexy because when I was a kid, I had to wear lots of shoes. Like I don't know. I don't get the feet kink. I don't get it. I don't. I'm not gonna kink shame nobody. I just don't get it. It's just one thing I don't get. And the only reason why I bring it, I don't. Only reason why I bring it up is because it's so popular. If it wasn't as popular as it was, then I wouldn't really care to comment on it. But it's just mad popular. There's a lot of people who like some feet. I don't get it. I don't get it at all. My dad restricted access of his side of the family too. Gotcha. Dr. Kwan is in. Dr. Kwan never left. There's a lot of theories. Yeah. Man, listen. I haven't dove down that rabbit hole because I really don't want to know. I feel like diving down that rabbit hole going to show a lot of pictures and videos of feet that I really ain't trying to see. Hey, those feet pics pay a lot of bills. Not me, mine. Listen, I respect it. I respect it. If a girl can sell some feet pics to get her bills paid, do your thing, girl. Do your thing. Do your thug thizzle. Cause I trust and believe if I had to sell some nudes and I would get my bills paid, trust and believe I'm gonna give you this angle, this angle, this angle, this angle, this angle. I'm gonna give you every angle. You know what I mean? I don't care. You paying my bills? Here's every nude in the book. I don't care. I'm gonna give you what angle you want. Like I ain't worried about it. But yeah, that's interesting. I really enjoyed that conversation though. I really really enjoyed it. Screw the roses, give me the thorns. Where is that quote from? Cause that sounds like some spicy stuff. I know someone who would pre-order. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Maybe, maybe, maybe. If I was dropping the OnlyFans, I probably have 2 subscribers on there. That's the title. I pay for. That's how I pay for my hotel and alcohol. Dang, let's go. Hey, we making money out here. I ain't mad. Entrepreneur. I am not mad. You get it how you live. If people willing to pay for it, shoot. What's the? Like I said, I ain't here to police your lifestyle. I'm not here to, I had a comment on one of my videos where the dude was talking about moral deviance, and I'm like, moral deviance, dude. You're in a YouTube comment section arguing with me. Like, you don't get to run around and try to pretend to be some sort of moral authority. You got, like, calm down. You're not the moral high horse guy here. You don't get to tell people who's a deviant, because what are they, deviating from your moral standards? Get the hell off your high horse, dude. You know, calm down, Queen Elizabeth. You're not that guy. You're not Jesus. Chill out. You know, I think that that's so annoying. Like, oh, that's immoral, selling feet pics for money, bruh. If you could sell your dirty feet for some money, I bet you would. Don't say that. It's like them certain girls who be like, oh, let's see, hi, there we go. No, I didn't mean to undo it. Oh, there we go. They were quick. As soon as we started talking about feet pics, here come X girls. As soon as we started talking about it, perfect timing. I know. I know. She'd make more than one account, you know. I seen what people pay for on OnlyFans. Listen, I think that I would have trouble with something like OnlyFans though, because one, I'm trying to have a future in politics, so I think that I believe in people being able to do that. But I think for myself, it would be political suicide. So if I didn't see a future in politics, or have a goal in politics, then I would probably have an OnlyFans right now, like for sure, for sure I would. But I don't know. I think because I have such a small social media following that I think I would have difficulty on any platform, social media. My Instagram is small, my YouTube is small, Facebook small. Like it's I have such a small following on any social media that I don't really know if my OnlyFans would change anything. How would my OnlyFans get promoted? I'd have to put out some Pornhub content. Then, it'd have to be a whole thing. I'd have to really invest a lot. I'd have to invest as much into my OnlyFans as I do into YouTube, which, I mean, that makes sense. But, I don't know. It's just something that I don't necessarily believe based off of the performance of my other social medias. I don't think OnlyFans would be any different, you know. I don't know. I feel like people want stuff for free, especially from a guy. But I don't know. I've seen some guys do really well on OnlyFans, So, each his own. But like I said, it ain't up to me to determine, what people gonna do with their life. It is not up to me. Um, so let me see what time is it. It is 5:48. Yeah. So I think what I am going to do, everyone, I think that. But we're loyal tubers. Yeah, that's very true. That's why I believe that I would probably have like some loyal, OnlyFans. I definitely would. But I think that it would remain that way. It'd be some loyal OnlyFans. But I think that I'm probably not going to stream later on today. Um, yeah, I think that I think I'm just chill. I think I'm gonna go get some groceries. Um, Yeah, I'll go get some groceries and come back, probably make me something to eat, and I think I'm just gonna chill and I'll go to the gym tomorrow. Today is what? Today's Wednesday, so I'll go to the gym tomorrow and then I gotta go donate Friday. So I might be back Friday. I am going home Saturday. I believe I'm going home Saturday. So yeah, so I thank you, Sarah, for coming through. Thank you, A. Thank you, Image. Thank you, Getting. I know you're not here, but thank you from around the way, bro. I'm supporting you 100%. I'm willing to pay. Listen, I will. Y'all be the first to know. Y'all be the first to know if I do something like that. I gotta start supper. Yeah, go ahead, start your supper, Sarah. I'm probably gonna do the same thing. I'm gonna run up here, get some groceries, and get dinner started. And probably just gonna hang tight and just take it easy. Like I said with everybody, it ain't nothing wrong with taking some self care. So, Image, I know you're sick. Take care of yourself. Drink some water, and just rest. Love you back, Image. Love you, A. Love you, Sarah. Thank y'all for all the support. Um, just thank y'all, cause y'all been here and y'all been riding with me for. It's been a minute. It has been a long minute. So we got a nice family here, and I love it. I wouldn't have it any other way. So thank y'all again for rocking with me, and I will see y'all um probably tomorrow. If not tomorrow, I will see y'all Friday. So just be on the lookout, and yeah, I'll see y'all. But take care of yourselves, man, and love y'all. Appreciate you for coming out. Have a good one. Peace out, everybody.